Good morning. It's now time for another edition of Freedom with Steve Nichols. Brought to you in part by Sam Dennis Law, personal injury attorney, methodical, prepared, and battle ready. And by Kilby Family and Cosmetic Dentistry, dental care for the whole family. Now, available on Facebook, YouTube, Discord, and freedomnetworks.com each weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Here's your host and last best hope for freedom, Steve Nichols.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Freedom with Steve Nichols on this fine Friday. It is about 6:04 a.m. in the morning. Wear your red, get up, put your clothes on. Remember everyone deployed, and let's celebrate them by wearing red. The broadcast happens every day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here in the SGAwater.com studio in Valdosta, Georgia. We appreciate you tuning in, and we appreciate it if you go to SGAwater.com and schedule a free water test. You need to know what's in that water. It runs through your house. It goes through your pipes. Sometimes it can clog up things if the water's hard or it has some sort of sediments in it. It can cause a lot of problems, a lot of expensive problems, replacing appliances and things like that. But the number one thing is health. You don't know what's in that water. There could be contaminants in there that's harmful to you. We use water in many ways. We brush our teeth with it. We drink it. We cook with it. We bathe in it. We need to know what's in that water. You can do that for free by going to sgawater.com or simply calling 229-251-1100. They'll get you taken care of. We do the pledge and the prayer to kick off our days here each and every day on Freedom with Steve Nichols. That's brought to you by our friends at Ross Automotive. They're located at 432 Connell Road, open to 6 p.m. each and every day for any automotive repair need, whether it's large or small. Maybe you know what it is and you go in there, you just need to get it done. Or maybe something's wrong and you can't put your finger on it, or you just don't know. The latest in diagnostic equipment can help find that out at Ross Automotive. So if you need a brake inspection, they do that for free to tell you how much longer you got on your brake pads or what you're looking at there. If you serve in the military or have served, you get a 10% discount just by letting them know. Just a fine group of folks. So everybody encounters automobile repair needs. So visit our friends at Ross Automotive and tell them you appreciate them. Let's go to the Lord in prayer this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you this morning. Thank you for safe travels for folks that travel, to visit, to go to weddings, just get on the road to do business trips, travel through air, through land, through sea. Lord, just thank you for their, protecting those folks that go back and forth. Thank you for the protection you give us when we just go back to work each and every day, or to school each and every day, or to take our kids to school each and every day. Lord, thank you so much for protecting our kids while they're at school. Lord, today we remember everyone deployed. They're in the first line of in our defense for freedom. They're separated from their families in many cases, deployed abroad, and just holding the line for our country, our way of life, our freedom, fighting for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and our way of life. Lord, we give a deep regard. We have a deep regard for those people, Lord. And I pray that if there's any need in that family while someone's deployed, that we find out about it so that we can rally the troops here home and get them help. The families at home have to take kids to ball practice. They have to deal with maintenance in the homes. They have to deal with questions and concerns that come up all while their loved one is away from them, sometimes thousands of miles away, Lord. And we just pray for those families. We pray for those troops. We remember everyone deployed, and we encourage everyone to wear red on this day. Lord, guide us, protect us, and keep us, and help us with our issues, and help us enjoy our triumphs, and help us through our fights, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, 229-469-1417 is the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. If you've got anything on your mind or anything you want to talk about, you can give me a call on that number. We'll be glad to get you online. You can see it on the screen. If you're watching on Facebook, you can see it right there on the screen, sponsored by Valdosta Transmission. I want to thank all the people that make this show go, all the sponsors, all those who took the time to reach out and say, hey, I want to support the show. That's what makes it go. That's what's going to make it better. For those of you who don't know, we have updated and we've added a website, freedomnetworks.com. That's with an X. We want that to be the center of activity, the center hub of activity, where we go to get on the shows that are on the networks now. Freedom with Steve Nichols is not the brand of what we're trying to do. It's just a show on the networks. The networks is what we're trying to put together. We're trying to put my show up on the networks, which we've done. We've added Joe's show on the networks at 9:05 Eastern time. He comes on right after me. We have Larry Godwin's Viking Nation show, a sports show that comes on Thursdays at 7 p.m. on the networks. We've got his other show on Tuesday nights that comes on a sports show. It's more of a around the around the horn type show with a focus on sports in general, football in general. Whereas his Thursday night show is about the Vikings. Steve Parker and I got the band back together last night, and we guest hosted that show at 7 p.m. Many of y'all probably noticed that pop up on the Facebook thread. But we enjoyed that, and Larry will be back next week in his seat there. But Pregame Blitz is the name of the show that comes on Tuesday nights. We're working on other shows. Steve Parker and I are contemplating doing a show ourselves. We're talking about it and thinking about it, trying to figure out what the best time to do it is. We've got Jimmy Zinker considering a fishing show. If things work out with the internet at his house, we're going to do that. That'll be a priority next week. And we hope we can get that put together. We just got a lot of things that are going on, and I hope we enjoy the ride, and I know we will, and I know we'll be successful if we all stick together and have a common goal of advancing freedom and our principled, South Georgia moral values, and we'll see where it goes. So I'm excited about it. The White House student loan discussion. It is it's an interesting one in many ways. Nobody knows how much it's going to cost. Nobody can really figure out who's paying for it. I mean, it's easy to say the taxpayers are paying for it, but I contend that the taxpayers are not paying for it. I contend that the taxpayers will owe it. I got that. Somebody's on the hook for it. I just don't know what we're doing anymore. And then the legal, the constitutional ramifications. I don't think Joe Biden has the authority to wave a magic wand and make, hundreds of billions of dollars in federal money just go away or be added to the taxpayers tab. I don't think he can do it. Hadn't heard a whole lot of people talking about it, but that's just something I wonder. And then the way they calculate the price tag of it is just confusing to me. If you have the opportunity as a student that owes student loan debt, you make 100, or not a student, but someone who has student loan debt, and you have the opportunity to wipe out $10,000 in that debt, you're going to do it. Now, the only way you wouldn't do it is if you're hiding under a rock somewhere and you don't know about it. So I guess maybe, excuse me. So I guess maybe it's possible that somebody out there isn't paying attention and don't know they have the relief and wouldn't take advantage of the program. I guess that, but when asked how much it's going to cost, a very curious answer was given by the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, She said that they're saying if 75% of the eligible people take advantage of it, then it's going to cost about $24 billion a year. And I'm like, 75% of only 75% is going to take advantage of that? I think it'll be 99% will take advantage of it. So if she's saying only 3/4 of it being taken advantage of, it costs $24 billion a year. Looks to me like you're going to have to add, if I'm right, you're going to have to add and put it at about, what, $32 billion a year? Another 25%. Let's see, 10, 20, you're going to add another $5 billion to it. So that's $30 billion. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget Analysis released Thursday said the program will cost between $440 and $600 billion. So they're using an average of $500 billion, or as a central estimate, they call it. We used to call that an average, but change words. But at any rate, they're sitting there telling you they don't know how much it'll cost. Just add it to the tab, baby. We were told it'd be $300 billion to start with. Now it's escalated, even by her admission. What is that? What's let's see. Let me see what she actually says. I don't want to give out misinformation or misquote her. 24 times 10. She's basically saying it's going to only cost $240 billion. Only $240 billion. She's half off according to other estimates. The minimum estimate is $440 billion. So I don't know. And then, here's the thing. Out of the people who owe that debt, not everybody making let's just say they make $100,000 a year. Not everybody's struggling paying back their student loan debt. Not everybody really needs the $10,000 of relief to knock out $100 a month in their bill that they're paying back for their student loans. Not everybody is crying, hey, I need it. There are some struggling. So at the very, very minimum, wouldn't you try to determine who really needs the help? So what you're saying is somebody that went to school, they got a degree and they got out making money. They're making $100,000 a year, 110, 115, 124. And they qualify for this relief automatically, even though they don't really need the help. They're doing fine. They're driving a nice car. They got a home. They probably got a spouse, possibly, but they're not struggling to make the payment. So why give them $95, $100 a month relief by waving the wand and getting rid of $10,000 in debt? Why not they seek out the people that got out of school for whatever reason they got out of school and they're struggling. They got a job. They're not making enough money to make ends meet. They truly are struggling. Why not try to isolate them and give them the help? Second of all, can anybody ask this question? Because I have not looked up, but I'm curious. There's a ton of people that went to college, took out student loans, got halfway through and decided they didn't want to do it no more. They quit. They still owe the student loan debt. Are they getting $10 in forgiveness? $10,000 in forgiveness? Because if they are, that's bullshit. See it through. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve. Good morning.
Hey, T-Rex.
Down the road.
You headed to Jacksonville?
Yeah.
10-4, brother.
Student loan debt. I tell you, a lot of this has gone under the radar because what they did a couple months ago was allow people like me with doctoral and medical degrees and things of that have debt piled up for these graduate loans. They're funded through partially through a graduate loan plus, which is where most of my debt is. And I was on the hook for it, I thought. But now they're allowing us to consolidate that into the direct loans that I had for my master's degree. And after consolidation, they are eligible for forgiveness if you're working for a nonprofit. So I haven't heard anybody talk about the cost of that, which I would suspect, I know in my case, it's a hell of a lot more than $10,000.
Yeah.
Now what we need to know is how many people are eligible. And I think you would find the price tag of that is skyrocketing. And that's why we've got a how many $1 trillion debt on your debt clock that you figured out yourself would take tens of thousands of years to pay off. So there's no plan to pay this off.
No, you just adding it to the tab, right? I'm starting to, I've been worried. I was worried a little bit yesterday. I was starting to it was slowly starting to dawn on me that, I'm not going to be responsible for this debt. I'm not going to have to pay it. I'm not going to be around to pay it, possibly. Okay. So then I thought, well, but my children, Charlie and Emmy, my grandchildren, Gracie, Sam, Alden, they're going to have to be, they're going to be faced with the tax ramifications of paying that back. And then I thought, are they? I don't know that they are, because we just seem to be just tabbing that on, tacking it on. And
I got news. It's been going on for some time.
Oh,
I knew a physician back in the 80s who had back then probably $180,000, probably $200,000 education, medical school education from Georgetown University. He was an excellent doctor, but to get out of it, he went to West Virginia and set up a practice, and they let him out of it. And that's all the way back into the mid 80s. So this whole concept isn't exactly brand new.
No, and it's not exclusive to the educational loan department neither. There's a lot of programs out there that you can get government-backed loans and get forgiveness under certain parameters, and that money just don't magically disappear. Peter Doocy he's done 2 days in a row. He has done an excellent job as best he could. Now, again, I think you should go further, but I get it. You're going to get thrown out if you do. So I get you got to play the game, but he's hammered this lady 2 days in a row. Who's going to pay for it? And she has no answer. She admitted yesterday that she don't know how when she's the White House spokesperson, right? She's the press secretary speaking on behalf of the president of the United States, admitting that, number one, we have no idea how much this is going to cost. We could just guess. And number two, we don't know how we're going to pay for it or who's going to pay for it. Openly admitting this.
Yeah, you think Biden cares?
He does care. He cares about the vote it's going to get him by giving you $10,000 in leave.
I don't even know he cares about that. I just think they.
Well, you're probably right.
Soundbite.
Yeah, you're probably right. He don't care about the vote. He's not going to run again. There's no way. I mean, let's just be honest. He's not going to run again. So whoever's pulling the strings for the Democratic Party, that's who cares about the vote, because it don't matter who's name's in front of the D. It's just the D. It's all about the D. It's all about the R. It don't matter who's in front of it. We just got to make sure it's an R or a D.
Yeah. I don't know when it all comes. Somehow it's all going to come due, this payment. I just think that the American dollar, the greenback, it's used all over this globe still. It's still used, as I understand it, to purchase oil. It's the number one currency to.
It's the world's number one currency.
We take this money and we take it in buckets and distribute it all over the world. So the American dollar is still relevant on the globe.
Sure,
but when the day comes that it isn't, we're in trouble. That's when it comes. That's when the payment comes, as I see it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it looks like. You and I've talked about it before, but it's not going to be a pretty picture.
No, and there's only one threat to it currently. That's the Chinese, whatever the Chinese monetary thing is. Is it the yen or is that Japan? I don't know. What's the Chinese?
I don't think I think the yen's Japan.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it. I'm gonna look it up, but that's the only one that's a threat to the U.S. dollar. The strength of the U.S. the yuan. Clay Lacy said it's the yuan. So that would be the only threat, in my opinion. in my opinion, I could be wrong about that. I leave that out on the table for everybody else to judge, but I don't see no threat to the U.S. dollar right now.
So we're all right. Let's get it going, brother. Back to work.
Yeah. So just for the record, since you owe student loan debt, admittedly, are you going to take advantage of the $10,000 credit?
Hell yeah.
Well, I don't blame you.
Take advantage of that restructuring it too.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Anytime you've got if I could get food stamps, I'd get them. If I could get a tax rebate check, I'd get it. If I could get some sort of check for a student loan, I'd get it. If I could get reparations, I'd get it. Anything I can get from the United States government, I'm going to get it back, because I'm sick and damn tired of them raping my ass and taking my money. So give me anything I can get.
They've been in me. Yeah. I mean, but if I do dial in a job, I still got a few more years here, and I've interviewed for some jobs where, admittedly, they had salaries where I wouldn't need it, and by virtue of the salary I would have gotten on one private college that I'd applied to, and they actually interviewed me. When they revealed the salary, I about fell off my chair. It was upwards of $200,000 a year. I wouldn't need it then. Hell, I'll have them paid off in 2 years with that salary.
Mm-hmm.
But since I have to serve my community and serve all my fellow Freedom listeners in this low-paying job I have now and serve society, I'll take advantage of it.
I don't know if I'd go all the way that far. You don't work for a nonprofit entity, do you?
Hell yeah.
Oh, you do. It's a nonprofit. So
it's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing I looked before I moved, before I jumped.
Yeah.
That I was eligible still to stay on the public service forgiveness program. That was real big.
Who forgives?
If I'd have went to Waffle House, I'd have had to give it up, but I'd have got $20,000-$30,000 more a year, maybe.
Well, here's my question though. I know in some, my wife, in her nursing degree, she was able to sign a deal with a hospital. It's not a nonprofit that I know. It's a for-profit entity, but she signed a deal that if she works there for so many years or signs a contract to work so many years, she gets her student loans taken care of. Now, under that program, I believe that the hospital is paying it off. So it's not the taxpayers, it's not the government. She's working it off, and it's an agreement between her and her private employer. Now, my question in a 501c3 situation, if the deal with you is that if you work for that 501c3, your debt is forgiven. Is that forgiven by the Department of Education, or is it forgiven by the nonprofit?
Precisely, it's forgiven by the Department of Education.
So we are paying for T-Rex's student loans, is what you're saying.
Well, in theory, I would like to thank each and every one of you. and in 10 years, when I'm completed, I'm going to throw a big fish fry, and you're all invited.
You work in the system.
Does that make it a little better?
Well, I mean, you're working the system. You know what I mean? The system dictated that if you did this is the way it was, and you chose to go that way. You didn't invent the rule; you're just playing within them. So I want to know, everybody.
Exactly right.
Let's be honest.
I think I heard of a very popular president of this community does the exact same thing with bankruptcy a few times.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah, I'm going to pose
all
this.
All I did was work legally within the administrative and laws of this nation.
Yeah, here's the thing.
His response.
This is the question I want to ask the audience, and we can be respectful, but I want to be honest. I want to put this through the lens of freedom. Now, y'all listen to me. Again, we don't have to be ugly. I just want your opinion, and I'm going to start. I'm not asking, are you mad at T-Rex? That's what I'm asking. Do you think that, are you okay with that? Are you okay with the Department of Education forgiving certain employees of 501c3 companies of their student loan debt if they go into that field? I'm going to start the conversation by saying I think it's complete and utter bullshit. I don't like it. I think it's unconstitutional. I think it, and again, this has nothing to do. I don't have an opinion on whether T-Rex should have done it or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking you, should it even be available? And the answer, I'll go first and I'll ask T-Rex second. Do you think that the U.S. government, the way our system was set up, was designed to create programs like that for people to go through to steer them to different jobs on the taxpayer's hook? The answer is freaking no from me. What say you, T-Rex?
Yeah, I say no too.
Yeah, it is a big no. Yeah. Now again, I don't fault people for taking advantage of programs out there. I just sat there and told you if I could get food stamps, I'd get them. That's the game we're in today. If they're giving me a $250 or $500 state income tax rebate, I'm gonna jerk their freaking arm off to take it. That's my money. Yeah. So I'm not.
They tax the hell out of me. They've been taxing the hell out of me for close to 40 years now. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get what I can back, and I can assure you that $10,000 I've paid many times over in taxes, and I'll never feel that $10,000. I told you the biggest thing I've got from them is being able to restructure and get out of much more than that $10,000. That $10,000 is a drop of the bucket.
Here's
if
the
anybody
reason.
ever really peeled this whole system back, they would be amazed at the waste and abuse of this system. Mm-hmm. And it's been going on for some time.
Here's the difference, but here's the thing. Here's the reason I don't like it. I can see, me personally, I can see no benefit for me as a taxpayer in you taking advantage of that program. Now, you can try to clumsily link some sort of, societal health benefit or whatever. People are going to be in them positions anyway, whether their loan is forgiven or not. What we need to do is concentrate on programs that benefit everybody. And I'll give you a prime example. The GI Bill. I ain't got no problem with that. You know why? Because somebody's standing on the line protecting my ass against the enemy. Okay. There's a big difference between that and somebody going to work at some sort of 501c3 that studies behavioral science or whatever the crap it is. I don't need that shit. Y'all go get your education on your own damn dime, pay your own loan back, because you're going to draw a paycheck, and I just assume you leave my ass out of it. That's just my attitude about it. And again, I don't want anybody to misconstrue that as some sort of anger towards T-Rex, because it's not. I don't blame him for taking advantage of what's before him. Many do that. Hundreds of thousands of people do that. People that you know do that. Okay, so that's not the issue. I'm saying it should not be that way, and T-Rex agreed with me. So there you have it.
I was actually in pretty good shape through the master's degree. Like I told you yesterday, I didn't know a damn dime on my bachelor's. Owed a little bit on the master's, but I drank the damn Kool-Aid on the doctorate. And of course, I didn't quite complete the dissertation. I may go back and finish that up. And I've still got about 10 years to work probably. So it may pay dividends. Hell, I might land a job where I have to pay it all back. That's what I really hope to do. Mm-hmm. I've gotten close. I've had them within my grasp a couple of times, and it may come around. But if not, I have to live with this salary. You're right. I'm going to leverage everything I can to my advantage.
It's a dog eat dog world. You better get what you can out there. That's where we're at in 2022. Where someone should have stood up is back when they first started talking about the availability of this. See, Renee says, I used the GI Bill. She says, yep, I did. As well, you should have, because you know why, Renee? You used that bill and you stood on that line and you protected my freedom, and I don't have a problem with that, because that benefits all of us in the form of national security. That's why we have the military. I don't have a problem paying the military. I don't have a problem incentivizing the military, because when the shit hits the fan, that's who's going to be standing there keeping them from coming after me. That's just like police and sheriff and fire departments. No problem getting taxed for that. Not one bit. The founding fathers said that was okay. But they didn't say nothing about going to work for a 501c3 nonprofit, borrowing a shit ton of money from the U.S. government, the Department of Education, our tax money, and then not having to pay it back. That's complete bullshit. I'm sorry. It just is.
And what about the students that are in now? I mean, what kind of guarantee do we give them? I mean, what kind of precedent have we set here? How do we not tell the next group and the next cohorts coming up, that you're not going to be responsible for all your debt, or you're going to be. How do we tell them you're going to be when we weren't?
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. My favorite word, fair.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Bakanovic talks about fallacies. Fair. What's the biggest fallacy in the damn English language is it's fair. It's got to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen very few things fair in life, Steve. Very few.
Yeah, they are. They're not fair. It's not a good word. JT asked, "Do you have a problem with teachers getting this relief?" The simple answer is yes, I do. I don't think this is the design of it. The Department of Education is the problem. It should have never been started in the first place. We don't need a Department of Education. We didn't need a public school system. Now, again, let me go back. So in the situation where he asked me, "Do you have a problem with the teachers getting this relief?" I can say it again. If the teacher is in a situation that she can take advantage today of getting that relief, then she's a fool if she don't take it. I don't have a problem with anybody taking advantage of what's before them now. I got a problem with the fact that it's available to be taken advantage of in the first place. That's where my problem lies. We should have never had this. There should have never been anything called a 501c3. It just shouldn't.
Well, what about the, a lot of the doctoral students that I was in class with work for the state. That program that I was in was for state employees.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of those state employees got their tuition paid but me, because I happened to work for the technical college system.
Mm-hmm.
But the state of Georgia was paying the tuition for all of those other educators, my cohorts.
Yeah. If it's free, it's for me. That's the mantra that we all live under now. If it's free, or it's for me. The slogan, everybody wants to cut, nobody wants to bleed. This goes right into all that. It goes right into that. We all have a problem with the next guy getting it when we don't get it. But when we're getting something we get, when we go do our taxes and we see that line item where we can deduct our mortgage interest, we take advantage of that, right? You're damn right we do. So it's just all everybody wants to cut, but nobody wants to bleed. We'll cut T-Rex's ability to get relief of his student loan, but we're not going to mess with my ability to take my mileage deduction on my tax return. We ain't doing that, right? It's funny, man. It really is.
Well, if it makes anybody feel better, most of mine's going to get paid back, because I'm going to get that damn high-paying job, and I want to pay it all back.
So you're going to be over the 120. You want to get you want to be over the 125 and not qualifying, and then you won't be part of that conversation no more.
You damn straight.
All right,
I don't want to be I don't want to be a ward of the state.
I hear you.
And I'll crawl my way out of this mess.
But all right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Until then, off to Jacksonville, brother.
All right. See you, man. All right. Bye.
See you.
Yep. JT says, teachers educate the future of our students. They don't make very much money and are the front line every day. What's the difference? I don't know what the difference is, but here's the problem. Teachers educate the future of our student. True statement. They don't make very much money. True statement. And are on the front line every day. True statement. Did we actually need the federal government to do that? Did we need the Department of Education to do that? Couldn't we handle that at the state level? Let's just take it this way. He says, I'm fine with the military. Yeah, I am. Constitution says I should be. So if you're fine with the military, I know JT is. He wants to take care of teachers. So why don't we take care of doctors? Is it because they make too much money? So we're going to put a parameter there. Shouldn't we give everybody free health care? I mean, after all, that affects all of us, right? Let's just have government run health care. Let's just let the government take. Matter of fact, since we're all in this together, why don't we get the government to pay us a living wage? Why don't you just send us an additional $1,000 a month? I mean, let's be fair about it, right? Everybody has their lines. Everybody has their lines. Good morning, caller on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
What's going on, Big Daddy?
Oh man, it's just trying to get people to filter things through the lens of freedom and understand that there's a cost with everything and every decision we do. I mean, Renee says these programs are set up to get more teachers. She thinks that's a good thing. We should have programs set up to get more nurses. We should have programs to set up to get more police officers. We should have programs set up to get more truck drivers. We should have programs set up to get more whatever. I mean, if that's what we're going to do, then sounds like socialism.
It does, don't it?
Yeah, and we all I guess I guess some people want a little bit of socialism, some people want a little bit more, and then some people want total socialism. I don't know, but doesn't seem to me like freedom. But that's just my opinion. This is a tough conversation.
Yeah, that's right. Before we dive into that, I got a PSA this morning. Y'all, speaking of freedom, y'all had the freedom to choose your own route going to work or wherever you're going to this morning. If your regular route involves I-75 south between exit 18 and 16, avoid the area. There's a big truck wreck right there. They got right 2 lanes shut down. It's a mess. So find yourself an alternate route. They're gonna be there for a while trying to get that junk cleaned up.
10-4.
So yeah, there's your roving traffic reporter. It's also foggy out here, man. It's like driving in cream of chicken soup.
Huh? Really? It wasn't foggy when I came in here this morning. I didn't see a lick of fog. So I guess it's closer to daylight. It always gets a little cooler, so that cooling is probably generating the fog, I guess.
That's right. So yeah, avoid I-75 southbound between exits 18 and 16.
Yeah, and the compound problems. I don't know if it's still shut down, but yesterday exit 16 southbound, you couldn't get off at exit 16. Like if you were going out there to going to Equipment or going out to Kinderloo, Kinderloo or something like that, you couldn't even get off the interstate there. So if you weren't aware of that, like yours truly, you ended up having to go all the way down to 13, turn around and come back to 16 and go that way.
Yeah, I didn't. That must happen when I was. Well, I don't know. That's not part of my normal rides. I don't know.
Brandon Blanton says PSA exit 350 Ocala, Florida. There's a big accident down there, so y'all be careful.
Heck yeah. I had just got off the phone with a buddy of mine. He's between the that's the 414. Brandon, did you say Brandon was who put that?
Yeah, Brandon Blanton. Brandon Blanton, exit 350.
Okay, there's another one at the 414.
People crashing all over. A lot of wrecks every day.
It is. Welcome to my world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, look like I'm gonna have a pretty good ride going to Tampa Town this morning. So.
Yeah.
Me. That's all right. I know the side roads.
That's right. What else you got?
Man, that's it. I just trying to get my dang Friday started, and it ain't working. I got a funny for you.
What is it?
I had some work done to my mower yesterday. My little John Deere. They got it finished yesterday, so I brought it home on the trailer. Well, it was raining yesterday afternoon when they got home, so I really didn't feel like unhooking the dang wagon. So I just pulled the carport right there with the trailer hooked up. This morning, guess who forgot?
Oh my gosh, that ain't good.
Yeah, I went to back it up. Just luckily I caught it at the corner of my eye. The trailer cutting to the left whenever I was trying to back up to the right. Shit.
Yeah, that was a good save there.
Yeah, good save. So yeah, I'm just the way this is starting off, I'll be glad when it's over.
10-4, brother. Well, be careful on your travels. I hope you get home at a decent hour.
It ain't gonna happen. I can go ahead and tell you right now, it ain't gonna happen. I did want to just let everybody know, hey, y'all slow down. It's foggy as hell, and avoid that stretch of road over yonder. But y'all be safe. Have a good weekend. We gone. See you back.
All right, 10-4. 229-469-1417. Some of the comments here. Bobby May says maybe get rid of $7.50 minimum wage. Yeah, think about it. Doesn't everybody deserve, if they're working to get to make enough money? Why don't we make sure that they're getting enough? Why don't we give them a $15 hour wage? Jason Turner, we all know what opinions are like. Yeah, that's we all see things through a different lens. We all have a different opinion. We all have measures, perspectives that shape our opinions, and we're all, we're okay with this, and then we get to our line, and everybody's line's different. And I submit that everybody's line today is different from the line drawn by the founding fathers. That's what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to get everybody to think it through. Think about it. If one believes we ought to take care of this sector of people, and then one believes we ought to take care of this sector of people, and those two are at odds, the compromise is, well, let's just take care of both, right? Or how do we determine which should be taken care of and which should not? Well, my contention is you go back to the founding principles of the country, and that determines what's taken care of. And I submit that there wouldn't be relief for 501c3. There wouldn't be any kind of incentives for teachers. There wouldn't be incentives for this, that, and the other. That's just what I believe. Don't make me right. I'm just asking you to think about it. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Richard. What's up?
I've got to tell you, part of what I was doing when I wasn't calling you during that time there, I was working a case with the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I was a
nobody really cares about all that. What's on your mind?
I told you I was a special agent, didn't I?
No, I don't know if you did or not.
I trained at Quantico with Herschel Walker.
Okay. Boy, it's funny how how the liberal media has twisted all that out of place, but that's just what they do.
Well, I saw a video of him saying that. Mm-hmm. Y'all didn't know I was a special agent. Didn't I tell you I was a special agent?
No, we also know that y'all don't know what the word context means. Y'all also thought President Trump was serious about putting bleach in your veins to cure COVID. Y'all ran with that shit too, and see how that turned out.
Yeah, I heard Trump say that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, y'all have no idea what context and what a joke is and what sarcasm is. Y'all don't recognize stuff like that, but y'all are masters at trying to twist that to the minions who follow you into something they believe, and they'll sop it up like a biscuit. Sad.
Is it a joke that Herschel Walker has associative personality disorder? Is that a joke?
I didn't know we were talking about his clinical diagnosis. I didn't know that.
Well, that's from his book.
I mean, what are you talking about? What's that got to do with him training at Quantico? I don't understand. You're shape shifting on me again, which is another liberal trait.
That was a joke.
I didn't say that was a joke. You said, or you asked me if I'm saying that was a joke. Those words didn't even come up until you said them. So no, that's stupid.
So when he said he trained at Quantico, what was that about?
That was his interpretation of spending time with FBI agents, which he in fact did. Several FBI agents have come forth to corroborate that. So I don't get it. What difference does it make? Y'all going to put a narrative out there. The right's going to put a narrative out there. The right's going to suck up the narrative that's put out there for them. The left's going to suck up the narrative put out with them. And then people like me are going to sit back and watch y'all duke it out over something that ain't even true.
I just logged on. I was listening back to The Road to Theocracy with Joe Bakanovic on
The Road to Concord with Joe Bakanovic, 9:05 Eastern. Don't sit there and try to disparage and twist names and stuff like that. This is a serious network. This is a serious venture. I don't need you on here doing that.
Well, he seems to be promoting, does he believe the United States should be a Christian theocracy? Does he believe the founders intended the United States to be that?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding him. I will be asking him about that. I wanted to ask him exactly what his
Joe's show stands on its own. If you have questions about Joe's show, tune in from 9:05 to 11. Feel free to call in and discuss that. This is the Freedom with Steve Nichols show, not the Road to Concord. So we'll keep the two separate.
Yeah, I will be. We'll be calling into his program. And
have you got any questions for this program or comments for this program?
You know the actress Anne Heche?
I do. She had a fatal crash. Terrible, terrible tragedy. I understand that she, was having some struggles with maybe alcohol and substance abuse, but she had a terrible accident, and I think she ended up on life support. She was severely burned, and it's just terrible.
Yes, she was on life support, and they harvested her organs, and then they disconnected life support. Do you believe that they murdered her when they did that?
Do I believe that they murdered Anne Heche
when they disconnected her life support?
Boy, that's a tough one right there now. I'm just going to be, you know me, I try to think about things and try to be brutally honest. Man, I don't know, Richard. That's a tough one. I wouldn't call it murder necessarily. You know, and I don't want to get into any kind of legal definitions of murder and what's not murder. Is it manslaughter, whatever? The question I think you're trying to get to is, let's just cut to the chase. If I'm sitting there in a tragic situation and my loved one is laying in that bed, and I'm faced with the decision to unplug them or not, that's what you're talking about. I believe that's a deeply personal decision that one has to make to satisfy their conscience. I think that the wishes of the person come into play. You have do not resuscitate orders, DNRs, that the person that maybe Ann Hesh had one, maybe she didn't. She probably didn't, since this was a sudden, unplanned event, or something. I'm not going to call it murder, and I'm going to leave that up to the individual. It differs vastly from, killing a baby in the womb. That's clearly murder. If the baby is, has a problem that can't live outside the womb, is that murder? I don't call that murder myself, but that kind of goes along with the earlier conversation. We all draw our lines, and my lines may be different from yours. So there we go.
Do you believe it should be legal for a family member, like in her case, to disconnect someone from life support like that? I mean, it was legal in that case.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. I got to rely on doctors. Okay. That's all I can do as a dumb old boy from Hayhire that does a radio show and builds fences for a living. If the doctor tells me that this my loved one is brain dead, absolutely no hope, for recovery. I've got to weigh that against my faith. I've got to weigh that against the chances. If they said there's a 99% chance they won't survive, am I going to cling to that 1%? Those are all personal decisions that I don't think I got no business commenting on whether or not the family of Ann Hesh made the right decisions or not. I'm going to leave that with them.
What about a newborn baby who is requiring life support that is terminally situated and dying and not going to be living very long, maybe a week or two or a month, is suffering on life support? Should the mother in that case have the right to discontinue life support?
I'm not going to say the word right. I'm going to, again, leave that up to the family and to the doctor, and I'm going to leave that with them and let them satisfy their conscience. I don't think I should be inside that. Ann Hesh, I understand. If I understand it correctly, Ann Hesh, she was pronounced dead when they took her off of life support. Now, I don't.
Brain dead.
Yeah, is there a difference between being pronounced dead and being pronounced brain dead, or are you just dead?
Yeah, there is a difference.
Okay, well, if I'm going to defer to you on that. I don't know. So, if there's a difference, if she's pronounced brain dead, and they have that decision. But to your point about the baby, anybody, it doesn't matter if they're a baby or someone that's 99. If they're on the deathbed and it's been determined somehow that they're their own life support, they're not living on their own, that they have to have assistance from a machine to breathe, that they can't do it on their own, there's no hope of recovery. Again, I will take the if you want to say it's a cop out, that's fine. I'm going to leave that to you and your loved ones to make the decision. I don't need to be involved in that. I don't think the government for sure needs to be involved with it.
What about euthanasia? Do you believe that someone who is
I don't
severely ill and pain, suffering,
I don't believe
pain,
I don't believe in euthanasia. Again, though, I'm not so sure that I want the government involved in that decision. I personally don't believe in euthanasia. I'm like my dad. My dad's basic attitude when he was dying and he knew he was dying was that, hey, just let me die, just let me die. But I don't want to be hurried to death, and I don't want to be prevented from experiencing death. That was basically, he didn't say it that way, but that was basically his attitude, I think, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people who are severely ill and in pain, will commit suicide. That happens a lot. A lot of people.
Sure.
Great majority of the suicides occur because a person is in severe pain and all that suffering.
We can't outlaw suicide, though, obviously, because nobody to prosecute after it takes place. Not making fun of it, but that's literally it. So, euthanasia, assisted suicide in the elderly. I think is it legal in Canada?
I think it's legal in some of the states in the United States.
Yeah, you could. I think you may be right there, but
maybe Washington State or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But you may be right. I think you probably are. But I know that it's legal in some places. But of course, Dr. Kevorkian, I think it was his name. Was in the news for assisted suicides, and I mean, I think that's a personal thing. I don't agree with it. I can't. As a Christian, as someone who believes in the teachings of the Bible, I can't condone assisted suicide or euthanasia. The water gets muddied when you start talking about situations like Anne Heche. I just think, again, I got to go back to the lines. You know what I mean? Everybody has their personal line, and you got to draw it. And you got to decide whether you're going to stick your toe on the other side or not.
You remember the girl that was the woman, I should say, in Florida, was her name Shivo or something like that?
Mm-hmm. She was in Tallahassee, I believe.
She was brain dead, and like I think her husband wanted to discontinue life, not really life support. She was on like a feeding tube and that sort of thing, and he wanted to discontinue that, and I think her parents were against it and all that, and there was this big court battle and everything. So that's an example. Now, she was diagnosed as brain dead as well, or in I forget the exact state she was in, but she was so impaired that she had basically no neurological function. The only neurological function she had left was to keep her heart beating and respiration. But
I don't know. I mean, it's tough situations, and I think there's it don't appear to me it's a big controversy right now. So I mean, it's a moral discussion. It's a good discussion to have on a human level. I mean, I enjoy the discussion, but I don't think it's necessarily any kind of controversy right now. So it's
Well, that law in Virginia a few years back that people talked about on the right, that it basically gave a mother the ability, with a doctor's approval. I mean, the doctor had to diagnose the child as being in a situation that would warrant the disconnecting of life support, just like with Anne Heche. Her family couldn't have done that without authorization from the doctors. They were saying that she was, brain dead and a candidate for the disconnecting of life support. Right. And in this situation, this law in Virginia, the law allowed the mother to make the final decision if the doctors determined that the newborn baby was in that type of situation. The mother could elect to disconnect life support. And if people say, well, they're aborting babies after birth. Now, again, that was the same. These babies were basically in the same situation as Anne Heche. They were just born in that situation, born with some major birth defect that had them in a situation where they were going to die if they weren't on life support. And even on life support, they would have died after a certain period of time. And Anne Heche would have died eventually anyway. She would have died. You can't say exactly when. It could have been 2 months, could have been 6 months, a year, but eventually she would have died on her own, even on the life support. But it was just
interesting conversation. I appreciate the phone call this morning. You can call back later if you want on another topic, but I think we've beaten this one to death. So,
okay.
All right. Have a good day. All right. Bye. 229-469-1417. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where that came from. I mean, it is an interesting conversation from a moral thing, from a moral standpoint. Each of us would, faced with that terrible situation, I don't knock anybody for making a decision in that situation. That's a tough one. And I don't want no part of it. Honestly, I don't want no part of being in the situation. I really don't want no part of trying to judge someone in that situation. That's one I think we can all agree that we don't want to find ourselves in. Former AG, excuse me, former AG slams the rights outrage over FBI's Mar-a-Lago raid. We may get into that sometime here in a minute. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, man.
So, the politicians and the elite has got us right where they want them with this, with this relief bill, is dividing the haves and the have-nots.
That's the mission, brother. That's been the mission.
Is their mission, and
that's
it's
exactly
working
right.
perfectly. It's even working on our show right now.
Mm-hmm. How you figure that?
Because people are arguing back and forth of who should get a relief or not.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily.
You know, we agree military should get it, but no one else. So we're doing the same thing the government's doing, is picking and choosing the haves and the have-nots.
I don't think the government is doing that to us. I think that's been the dawn of time. When you have a discussions, if cavemen are sitting around a fire back tens of thousands of years ago or whatever, and they have a disagreement on should we go move to this pasture or should we go move to this pasture due to weather reasons, you have some that won't say that we should do that or we should not do that. If you have an argument about should we share our food, we just killed a woolly mammoth, should we go share this food with the tribe next to us? I don't know that that's division. I mean, it is literally. But it's not, some of this is not political decisions. It's a discussion. And I don't think now we as humans, we make the mistake of getting emotional, getting personal about it. And I'll use my wife and your wife as two examples. Your wife's a school teacher. My wife's a nurse. We are automatically going to be a little jumpy when it comes to our spouse's prospective profession. And if there's some sort of, I'll just, when we went through COVID, we witnessed in this country, and and I think your wife would be in this category, in my opinion. Okay. Again, I've got a line here, but my wife and in a way, your wife was on the front line. I mean, your wife was exposed to 25, 30 kids in the classroom every day. And we watched, my wife working in giving COVID infusions. She's exposed every day, working many more hours. And then we sat here and watched the federal government dole out, what did they call it? PPP or PPE or whatever. All these.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Billions of dollars in loans to businesses, to survive. Yet my wife's in there in the front line giving COVID infusions, and she never got one damn dime extra. And to my knowledge, neither did Molly.
I don't think they got any COVID relief, but they did get a little bit of extra pay.
Okay, well that's fair enough. My wife didn't. So again,
but it wasn't for the COVID though. It was just how things evolved.
Yeah, that's right. And I would say, I would, my wife didn't get anything extra, and she's literally exposed to COVID dozens of times a day. Gave over 2,500 COVID infusions during that time. Right there with the sickest of sick, never got anything but a bunch of freaking overtime and bags under her eyes from being overworked. And yet other people got money. So I would sit here and say that nobody should have got anything.
I agree. Yeah, and I agree about I don't agree with this at all. I was just trying to make a point about my wife, about teachers. I was just trying to make a point because I have knowledge of it. You know what I mean? Like
sure. And it's a valid point. Yeah, it's a valid point.
And so I was just trying to make a point that that they're doing this to divide us. Right now we know that the Bidens don't want nobody talking about Hunter and all that mess,
or Jeffrey Epstein.
Mar-a-Lago is falling through. So they got to find another way to keep us diverted and divided. and they're doing a perfect job of it right now.
Yeah, but I don't think the difference of opinion between what's going on in the thread here is going to cause anybody to not. Y'all are going to be banded together, and y'all aren't going to vote for Joe Biden. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, I mean,
so yeah, they may.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if it ain't but one person gonna run for president, I ain't voting for nobody unless it's just one person that I have in mind.
Yeah.
If he don't run, then I ain't voting for him. I'll write in Liberty again, like I have done, which I just started doing that because you brought that to my attention. I used to write in my name.
Yeah.
From now on, it will be Liberty.
Yeah, I like it. You know me. I think it makes a statement. Now, the obvious is that in the count, in the grand scheme of thing, in the election process, I admit that it's probably silly, but I believe it's a way to make a statement. And you and I have talked about this off air. If you know, on November 8th this year, if they looked up and saw 1 million votes for Liberty, geez, man, that I don't know what kind of statement it's making, but I believe it's making a statement, JT.
At some point it will, if the bigger it gets, and people start realizing that that there ain't no such thing as a Democrat and Republican. They're all the same.
Yeah, but we're too afraid, man. We're too afraid.
I figured it out whenever I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
Old Clinton, he did a number on me, but I fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. Yep. Good call. I'm gonna go pee.
Later, buddy.
All right, see you, man. 229-469-1417. When we come back, we'll continue taking your phone calls, but I do got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Well, 1 hour is gone. If you made it this far, you are an official freedom fighter. Don't forget to visit freedomnetworks.com. Click on featured advertisers and support these businesses. They can advertise anywhere. They choose this show as a way to support the effort of preserving and defending freedom. Now, back to the show with Steve.
Welcome back to the show, Freedom with Steve Nichols. If you just joined us, we're here every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The fishing game forecast for today. Let me get the call screen out of the way. Fishing game forecast for today. The peak is at about 8:20 p.m. So it's a good day to go fishing this evening. You get off of work, spend your paycheck on a little bit of bait, take a kid with you. You ought to be in the chips at 8:20 p.m. That fishing game forecast brought to you by our friend Reed Hall at Plantation Creek Real Estate. Reed does an excellent job locating, hooking you up with recreational properties, or selling the one you got so that you can upgrade another one maybe, or just kind of cash out and be able to go and enjoy some hunting and fishing across the United States. But Reed Hall, Plantation Creek Real Estate, that's the place to start. Look him up on Facebook. If you need his number, just shoot me a private message or an email. I'll get you hooked up with him. Also visit plantation59.com. That's his wife's store located in Tifton, right there across the parking lot from Tractor Supply. Excellent place to shop. Y'all go check it out. We appreciate him. We'll do the weather report here in a minute. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve, the day before yesterday, I think it was, Jimmy Zinker called another program on the network, but he talked about something that I did on your program. He said he accused me of calling into your program and promoting perversion. And then he said, moreover, that I was advocating perversion be taught in school to the students. Now, come on now. Come on. That ain't true at all. How was I promoting perversion?
I don't know
All
what he
I said was that I
specifically.
thought that
Yeah, I don't know what he
Sandy had her way. She'd be banning books and songs and
Well, do you think
all
certain?
kinds of
Do you
things.
think certain books and certain songs should not be allowed in the high school in the Georgia or in the United States public school system?
Yeah, I think that there should be a standard as to what books are in, high school libraries, certainly elementary school libraries, things like that. This would be standard, yeah, for the
Mhm.
books. But it's a really a delicate situation when you talk about what books should be in there and what books should not be in there. I mean, some books I think should be in there.
Mhm.
You might not agree with that, and vice versa.
Fair enough.
And having nothing to do even with sex at all.
Well, that's where your school board comes in that represents the citizens, and that can be handled that way. Do you think sex, and I know the answer to this, you think sex education should be taught in the public school system?
Yes, and I did some research on that.
Well, hold
based
on a
what
minute.
y'all were
This is
talking
my
about.
show, so I'm going to dictate the question. So you do believe sex education should be taught in the school system. In that sex education class, do you think that children should be taught masturbation techniques?
No, and neither does Joycelyn Elders.
Okay, that's fine. But I mean, there are school systems in the United States who have attempted to have that curriculum in their sex education classes. And the only reason it didn't is because the school board shot it down, which is the way the process works. So there are people who are out there who want to go to that level of bodily exploration, they call it, in the sex education classes in the public school system. And that can't be tolerated by a moral society, I wouldn't think.
Teacher, or
what you're talking about
start
here,
with
let's just cut to the nuts here. What you're talking about are these lines I've talked about all morning. Everybody has their own line. And that's the struggle in this country. That's the fight in this country, is to hold your line. And if your line is that you don't want to kill a mockingbird on the library shelf, if that's your line, then you try to go defend that line by going to the local school board meeting and saying, I want that book off the shelf. It baffles me that some books are allowed in the classrooms when other books, like Dr. Seuss books, have been banned from the library shelves by liberals because they think they're racist and shit like that. I mean, it's just a complicated quagmire of stuff that I would contend that if we didn't have a federalized education system, we may not be fighting these challenges.
I don't know what you mean by federalized education.
We have the Department of Education. It dictates education. It mandates that we got to go to school. It mandates that our children have to be educated in a certain way, in a certain manner. There's rules. You got to go to either a public school, a private school, or you got to be taught an authorized homeschool curriculum. They are up our ass sideways. And when it comes to educating our children, and the founding fathers did not intend for that to happen. Do you think that Madison and Jefferson and George Washington and Ben Franklin, do you think they would approve of a federalized Department of Education? Do you think that they wanted that?
I don't know if they wanted it or not.
They know I don't know. If you read the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, if you read the words from the founding fathers, the answer is no. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Well, you're talking about a different time that they lived in versus now.
Well, I know, of course
you
that.
got to educate today. How do you think kids should be educated? You think how should the children of the United States be educated if you don't believe in a public education system?
I believe that they should be educated. I believe that's the job of the parent to educate them. Now, whether they choose to send them to a school, a private school, a public school, if one's available, that's up to them.
Well, yeah, but
let me ask you this: how were they educated? How did Charles and Laura Ingalls educate Half Pint?
They sent her to Miss Beadle at the local school there.
Was that a public school?
Road.
Was that a publicly? Was that a federal public school that was provided for by the federal government, or was that a community school? Who paid Miss Beadle? Now I know the answer to this. So who paid her?
I don't know who paid her.
Charles and the rest of the families in the community paid her. The government didn't.
But today, here in the 21st century.
It don't matter. It don't matter.
do
It
believe we
don't
should have
matter.
public
No, 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 no,
education,
no,
though,
no.
right?
No, it don't matter. I'm talking about the way it should be, not the way it is here in 2022. That's a different conversation.
So you don't believe we should have public education today?
I don't think we should have ever had public education. No, not federally mandated, federally funded government education. No, I don't. I don't think the founding fathers ever intended that. I don't think that was in the cards.
Right now, even with the public education, poor kids are getting a shitty education. They're not even getting an education.
I agree.
So if we didn't have that, if we didn't even have a public education system, we'd have millions of kids not getting an education.
Yeah, we also have millions of people not making enough money to live. So what's the answer? Should we make education available for all for free? Should we make a federal minimum wage, or everybody makes? Should we send them a check to have a minimum wage? Should we give them all free health care? Why the heck? What I mean, where's the line, Richard?
We should have a very strong quality public education system available where every child in the United States has access to a good quality education. We should have that. We can afford that. We should have it.
Mm-hmm. See, that right there is that is why
corporate.
you are against the founding principles of the country, because
You
you
don't think the
disagree
founders
with them.
want the kids today to be educated?
No, I didn't say that.
They
I don't
were
think.
educated. Of course, they were rich. They were British aristocracy. Of course, they were educated.
Again,
How
if
do
you
think
read
they
their
got
words, there's
educated?
nothing to indicate they didn't want education. They just didn't believe it ought to be funded by the taxpayer dollar on
You
the
think they
federal
just
level.
believe the
Do you listen to what I'm saying?
educated?
Or do you even contemplate what I'm saying? Do you even
I'm hearing every
acknowledge the
damn word
facts?
you're saying.
You don't listen. You disagree.
I
Just
am
say
listening.
it. Just say it, Richard. You disagree with the founding principles of the United States of America. That's the only conclusion I draw with you.
So you don't think they would want poor kids to be educated? You
That's
think
not the
founders only
question.
wanted
That's not the
aristocracy
question.
to be educated?
You're doing what a liberal does. You're bending and shaping the conversation to fit your narrative. I'm not letting you do that here. The simple
founders were rich
simple
British
thing is
aristocracy.
they did not believe the
They had
federal government
education.
should be involved in the education of your child. Agree or disagree? Do you agree with that?
The government to be involved.
Do you agree or disagree that the founders of this country never intended for the federal government to be involved in any way, shape, form, or fashion with the education of your child? They did not. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. You can only say yes.
What are you
Now,
basing
the
it
only
on?
other thing you could
what are
say
you basing
is that
it
you
on?
disagree with.
I don't have
you
the
know,
Federalist Papers memorized by heart.
I'm
Where-
basing
where
it
are you
on.
quoting it from?
I'm basing it on the. Don't ask me to quote it. Go read it yourself.
You
Go
just
read
said
it
you
yourself.
read something from the founders that said they're against public education.
I've read the writings of the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalists. I've read the writings of the Founding Fathers, and I've concluded that by those readings, they never intended that. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. And just because I can't quote verse in Scripture of who said what, when, and on what date, doesn't change the fact that they were against publicly funded education.
Well, what if they were? Then
They
we're
weren't.
against it.
They weren't.
We
They
don't have to do what
weren't.
the founders said to do. We do whatever we want to do.
Don't disagree with you on that. That's why we're all fucked up
We
like
can
we
have
are.
public education. Now, you'd have to tell me what you're referencing there. I don't have time to go back and read the entire.
Go
Federalist
try to
Papers find
prove
out
me
what you're
right,
talking
or go
about.
try to prove me wrong. It's not up to me to prove myself right. It's up to you to prove me right or prove me wrong. You do
Haven't
that,
really
not
thought
me.
about it. I haven't even heard anybody bring that up to say, well, or the founders in favor of public education. I haven't even heard anybody discuss that. I haven't discussed it with anybody. I haven't heard anybody anywhere except you say that. You're the only person I've ever heard say that the founders were against public education. I'm not saying you're wrong. Just tell me what you're referencing.
I'm referencing the words of the Founding Fathers, Richard. Go look
From
it
what,
up.
the
Go
Federalist
read.
Papers?
Go read. It's not just one place, Richard. It would if you study. If you spend hours studying everything, the philosophy of the Founding Fathers, their writings, their teachings, their thought, the way they arrived at things through natural thoughts, through moral thoughts, you discern from them that they think a certain way. And it becomes crystal clear what they envisioned it to be. And it seems to me, by knowing you, I'm applying the same logic to you. I listen to your thoughts, your patterns, your moral convictions, your principles, what you think, and I discern that you are in stark contrast and stark disagreement with the founding principles of this country in certain areas. That's how you do it. So I can't sit here and tell you to go to Federalist number 28, paragraph 7, and there's the clear answer that this guy who said this was against federally funded education. That's not how it works. You have to study this for hours and hours and hours to get inside the minds of those and say, what would they think about this right here? And the answer is they wouldn't want 501c3 charities getting government subsidized stuff. They wouldn't want to handle it that way. Surely you agree with that, even though I'm not able to verbalize exactly where it's found in the Federalist Papers. You do agree with that, right?
To a certain extent, yeah.
There's no extent. There's no certain extent. It's either yes or no. Jeez, you liberals muddy the water, man. This is,
you're
mind-blowing,
argument
man.
that the founders would be against public education. These were educated men. They got educated. All of them were very educated.
There you go, twisting. There you go, twisting again. You started the conversation just now by saying they would be against federally funded education. That is not what I said. They would be against the federal government mandating that. There is a mechanism under the Constitution that if people want to get together and they're all in agreement, they can bring something to light. But they weren't for the government mandating education through the Department of Education. I'm going to take another call. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Steve, I was rolling.
What's up, J. Roll?
What's up, buddy?
Sarge?
Hey, man.
Let me say, before you get started, I got to say something. Tony Bennett says cussing makes me comfortable. That's a joke. I think he might have meant uncomfortable. It ain't right for me to drop an F-bomb. Everybody knows that. I fall short and I apologize. I get passionate about freedom. I get passionate about discussion and I slip. So be it. I'm sorry. That's all I can say about it. One other thing, Renee said something. She tried to post something on here or whatever. And she asked me, had I blocked her from it? She says, hey, Steve, I tried posting an article on the Facebook page this morning and couldn't. Did you block me from posting? The answer is no. And nobody's blocked you from posting. I wouldn't know how to block anybody if you offered me $1 million. So
I haven't blocked anybody.
Yeah, you shouldn't be blocked. So there must be some other malfunction going on, Renee, but nobody's blocked from posting. The only person blocked right now is John Ford.
Well, Renee, I'll go check it out here shortly and just make sure you're good.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank
you. Hey, so real fast. Hey, I know we ran into each other a while back, and I told you, man, I was so sick of politics. I hadn't even listened in a minute, and I'm ashamed to say that. But the thing is, I just get so overwhelmed with it that it just causes me to have a bad day. I can't get away from it all day long. Once I get into it, man, I get so upset, and then it just ruins my whole day.
Yeah.
However, I tuned in this morning. I'm here in public education, as most of you may already know, and I know you know, Steve. I've been working in the school system, and I've been working practically almost every day.
Yep,
this year since we started. And what I used to rail against the public school system. Kids ain't learning nothing. They're not learning this. They're not learning that. Public school, sucks. I although I send my kids to public school, but I didn't at first. I did send them to private school. But it just got to be such a huge expense. I couldn't afford it. However, so now they go to public school, and I worked in there enough that I've been able now to form an educated opinion. And the opinion is that there's nothing wrong with the public school. The educators are coming there and they're trying to teach. It's not the teachers. It's not the educators. It's that the kids are bringing the culture into the school, and they're bringing in what they're being taught at home. And that's where the problem lies. They don't want to learn.
It's what they're being taught. It's what they're being taught at home. It's what they're seeing in the streets. It's what they're seeing on TV. It's what they're seeing in the video games. That's the problem. It is. You're right.
That is exactly the problem. It's not the public school system. I have completely changed my opinion.
Yeah, it's the discussion though is a little bit different than what we're talking about now. The discussion was centered on should there be public education, and my contention is that the founding fathers would not have approved of federally funded, federally mandated, Department of Education regulated public school education. Now, if somewhere down the line, the county or the state or whoever the case may be, got together and said, okay, here, we're going to create this system, that was within the framework of the Constitution. But the federal Department of Education should be abolished according to, is my contention, and I'm open to being proved wrong. If Joe wants to call up and say, okay, you're wrong and here's where you're wrong, I can accept that. Okay? Because I know he'll show me where I'm wrong at, and I'll have to contemplate that. I'll either agree or disagree. But the federal government should not have the Department of Education using our tax money to dictate to us the education of our children. I believe that is the founding fathers. I think that's the founding fathers' thoughts. That's just how I see it.
Hey, Steve, what was the lady's name? And I can't remember off the top of my head. She runs the Department of Education. She may not be. I know she was.
Well, Betsy Voss. Betsy Voss was the previous one. I don't know who the current one is. But
the thing about it, Betsy Voss is, and this is coming, from my wife, who's been in education for years. A lot of decisions she made they were not good for the education system. As a matter of fact, she wasn't even qualified, really, to be in the position she was in with her background. And I don't know the details of it. My wife does, because she is an educator and has been for over a decade. But she shouldn't even have been in the position she was in. But I caught the tail end of the conversation, man, when I turned it on. So automatically, a lot of times we're talking about kids. So I just made an assumption. In reference to how the kids are being educated. But I see now you guys are y'all are on a different boat, and I just come floating up on another.
Well, and that's but, it's still a relative topic, and it's an important topic. You're right. I mean, the situation now is a lot different with them when you were going to school in Eccles County. You know what I mean? The whole culture, the whole challenge that the school system faces is different, and it's because of the reasons you said. What's going on with these kids at home and then bringing it to school?
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even know how else to, I actually got asked to teach a class on an industrial complex, in next month, and it's just hard. I mean, you go in the classroom, you're trying to get the kids to settle down, whatever. There's no discipline. I mean, disciplinary action has turned into the same thing of one of the reasons why I got out of the military. When you walk up and if somebody was late for formation, you can't tell them to do push-ups. Mm-hmm. To me, that was military discipline. Now you just you got to write them what they call a counseling statement. Well, big freaking whoop. Nobody gives a crap about that garbage. Nobody gives a crap about I'm going to write you up. So what?
Yeah,
Who cares? Right. Write me up. I don't give a rip. Back in the day, you went down to, I know for me, Mr. Humphrey's office, and he whipped you. He tore your butt up.
That's right.
Shut your mouth, and you went back to class.
That's the way it happened to me. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now it's just completely different, and nobody cares.
That's right.
And I say, and I'm gonna get off here, man. But
yeah, I gotta take a quick break. I think I heard somebody knocking at my door, which is odd. So,
but for the most part, there's a lot. Most of them don't. And
that's right.
Go with that.
All right. See you, J. Roll.
All right, bro.
All right. Sergeant Rowland, the phone's ringing off the hook, but I got to take a quick break real quick. I think somebody knocked on my door. I got to see who that is. I don't know what it is. At any rate, there was a bunch of people trying to call in. It wasn't Richard Marks neither, but there was 4 or 5 different folks trying to call in. But we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Nobody was there. I'm either hearing things, or it could have been a woodpecker. Who knows? But I thought I heard somebody knock on the door, so I wanted to go see who that is. Let's go to the phone line, 229-469-1417. Good morning, caller. The phone's ringing off the hook. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, sir.
Big B, what's up?
I actually was kind of hoping it was Sam knocking on the door. He'd forgot his key.
Yeah, you don't have a key. We actually have an access code on it. You don't need a key. You just got to have the code. But he is. I think he was trying to come. I don't know if anything happened. I hadn't checked with him this morning, but we'll see. Maybe he'll get here.
Shoot him a text because he just make the rest of my day just get kicked off. Now I got a couple of things. The reason I was calling earlier the very first time is because the JT had me think about something. But while this is on my mind, we're gonna have a new slogan. Dick don't listen. Is what Dick don't listen.
He don't. He likes to talk, but he don't like to listen.
And that's all I got to say about him. I ain't even recognize him as any other thing.
Yeah.
But no, I was going to say JT was talking about on the voting. I have a question that I have pondered, and I don't mind publicly stating this. I am not voting for Brad Ratzenberger.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to write in. But what I'm going to write in is something I've thought about. If I wrote something that was vulgar or something that was hateful or something towards an individual, would it ever show? Would it ever be traced back to the voter? I'm being hypothetical here.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be written on the ballot once it's cast? Could it be traced back to who actually cast it?
Well, I mean, I would think.
So, wouldn't you?
I'm trying to think of a situation where it wouldn't be, and I can't right off the top of my head. So I think it can be, yeah.
Well, so it can be traced back to the voter.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the damn difference then in any other vote?
I don't know.
You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I don't know. You
know who voted. You can't have 62 damn votes under somebody's one name. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, there's cheating goes on everywhere. But what I was trying to be not facetious or anything towards you or to be, trying to throw you in the middle of it. But the simple fact is if I put something on that was derogatory towards a candidate or whoever,
mm-hmm.
and then that can be traced back to me, what's the difference in a legitimate vote for said candidate on that ballot?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
We're in a damn conundrum, and it's kind of like JT said. The media, especially, is keeping stuff stirred up to keep us distracted, us being the people that's listening and paying attention to what's going on, from what's actually happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to throw out there about this loan debt relief bill or whatever. Horse hockey, that is crap. You got Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I seen this morning, watched it and listened to my own ears, watched my own eyes. They say that ain't enough. The 10,000 and the 20, that ain't enough. They want more. Of course, some damn socialists and communists want damn more. They want everything to be in the government's control. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the education system. No, we should not have a federally mandated education system. That's what's going on today in our schools. The reason schools, and I have a close friend of mine that is a school teacher of 22 years. She is violently against she's an English teacher, but a lot of the crap that there's pushed on them for curriculum to teach high school students and even grade school. Because she taught middle school for about 10 years. But like she said, if the school system refuses to do it, then the damn state and the feds cut the funds off. And that's what it's all about, is the dollar. So,
well,
I'm sorry I got worked up.
No, I mean, he can't see the issue of education didn't even come into a conversation or in any meaningful legislative way until the passage of the 14th Amendment, which wasn't until 1868, almost 100 years after the founding fathers wrote the Constitution of the United States. So any attempt, and I see he's posted a link there, which I can't click on, any attempt in there to try to say that the founding fathers ever thought that we'd have or should have a federal Department of education is absolutely silly. And to further my point, guess when the Department of Education was created? What year do you think, B? 1776, 1876, 1915?
It was done in the 1950s, wasn't it?
1979.
Okay.
The
And that's right, Jimmy Carter done that. Thank you, damn James Earl.
203 years after the founders wrote about education. So he's an idiot. He's just an idiot when it comes out. He's totally oblivious. Totally oblivious. Okay.
I want to say one more thing, and I'll get off here because I want to listen to what everybody's got to say. And yeah, text Sam, see what the heck his problem is today. He's a slacker. I'm sitting there waiting, and I have been for 2 weeks for him to call Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Bakanovic, I mean, hats off to him. The man does his research. He can point out, when you ask him, where do you get it from or where do you get your information from? But he shouldn't have to. It's just like you said. If you want to know where I get my answers, you go look the same damn place I did. You go do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I do your homework for you? It don't work that way. Well, look here, my friend. You have a great weekend. Oh, by the way, I did get my tripod in.
Okay.
And I did not get a chance to video my etouffee last weekend, but you know me, I'm going to eat again soon. So I will cook again, and I'll videotape it and I'll send something over to you.
10-4, brother. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
See you, bye.
All right, bye. 229-469-1417. That is the number if you want to call and get in on the action. Let's see here. First publicly. Y'all call if you want to. It's really not. I don't even know why I'm wasting my time of it. I have done the research. I have come to the conclusion. I got there based on. I mean, I think everybody understands that I'm going to do. If I put my mind to something, I'm gonna research the shit out of it. Okay, and I'm gonna come to a conclusion. Still open to the idea that maybe I'm wrong, but somebody's going to have to prove that I'm wrong. So for somebody to call my show and tell me to prove myself, I don't operate like Joe. I'm just going to be honest. I don't have the brain power, the skills or whatever to, I wish I did to quote and pull something out of memory to prove my position. Joe will give you his position. He'll prove it. He'll support it on the fly. I can't do that. I don't operate that way. My brain ain't working that way. My brain works by consuming a crap ton of information and then coming to a conclusion. And once I'm there, it's up to you to push me off my rock with your information. That's how I work. Okay. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you how I am. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. So anyway, 229-469-1417. If you've got anything you want to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, man.
So my wife has been telling me about sexual, emotional learning.
Yeah.
And there is a organization in Valdosta that has started called, darn it, I just looked it up. I'm going to send you the information.
Okay.
But one of the ladies who is involved with it is a teacher here. And she's been informing my wife about it. But I'm trying to get her to call you and tell you all about how they're going to try to implement this even in the Georgia school system.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going to let you know that I'm hoping within the next day or so I can have her call you and talk to the audience about what's going on in our school system about this mess.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I'd love to hear that. We got to know, man. We got to know so we can, when we hear something like that, we've got to know so we can go to our local school board meeting and say, hey, no, we don't want this in here.
And that's exactly what this organization is for. It gives us all the information that we need to know so we can go combat this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was letting you know that hopefully within the next day or two that we can get her to give us a call and let us know what's going on here.
Yep, 10-4.
South Georgia.
10-4. Appreciate the call, JT. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, man.
Yes, sir, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
229-469-1417. Education starts at home, not in the first grade. Parents, get off your phones and tablets and read to your kids. Yeah, we used to have story time when I was a kid. They'd read us to sleep, right? That's just the way that goes. Funny, I said Steve needed to listen to Joe's show yesterday and saw that he was. I listen to Joe's show every day. I just can't usually listen to it live. I just did for about 45 minutes or so yesterday, but him being on my network and, us having a business relationship, and I listened to Joe's show to see how it's going. And Joe and I talk most every day about how things are going. We talked a little bit yesterday about what the analytics look like. Him and he was listening, and I told him, and he's doing a great job. But yeah, I listen to Joe's show every day. I will say this, I don't see, I know yesterday we talked about some things, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see anywhere yesterday during Joe's show that he and I were off base. We seem to be in lockstep agreement on Dominion, how I analyze Dominion, the voting machines. I didn't see any difference whatsoever in our takes on that. So anyway, but yeah, Joe's show's great. Great Daniel says storage time came from the Bible at my house when I was growing up. Me too. I remember falling asleep many times. I know, Greg, you probably know this or remember this. You remember there was this big, thick, blue Bible story book. It had things about Adam and Eve, the story of Adam and Eve, and the story of Noah, David and Goliath. You remember that? I remember my parents read that to Daryl and I, and it was just good times, different times back then. Kids put themselves to bed now, and many times, unfortunately, fall asleep with a video game console controller in their hands. Both high schools are at home here tonight, correct? Yes. If so, and you don't want to get involved in the traffic and the restaurant craziness of order to go enjoy. Both teams are playing at home tonight. Lowndes plays Gadsden. Valdosta hosts Cook. Coach Byron Slack used to be the defensive coordinator at Lowndes. He is now the head coach at Cook, coming off a big victory over Pelham, 36-0. Now he goes and takes his team to a real test where they go into Death Valley and face the mighty Wildcats. So we'll see how that turns out. Just FYI, not sure it helps or not, but in Georgia, schools are autonomous and the state DOE has no regulatory authority over them. That's 100% correct. And the reason for that is the Department of Education on the federal level. They are the grand poobah of the school system. The founders supported public education. No, they did not. Not in the context I'm saying they didn't. They all had the best education available. Sex education is also important if you don't like abortion. I don't even know what all that. That's all political nonsense rhetoric. But the founders supported public education. That is not what I'm talking about. Okay? The founders did not support the federal government mandating that public education. It is all over. Starting in 1600 with the first public school, the Latin school, the Boston Latin School in the 1600s. He totally tries to shapeshift the conversation and he tries to redirect. This is a tactic that they use. So you can look it up. Don't listen to me. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Joe's word for it. Don't take Richard's word for it. Look it up. Read it. But let me tell you something. You're not going to do a Google search and come up with the correct answer in 30 minutes. Okay? That's our problem. Okay? Our problem, I contend, all of us. I used to be this way. I used to be this way when I first started radio. I can't be that way no more. Okay? I can't, because I have found that the information you form your opinion on many times, if not most of the time, is tainted in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You can't simply sit down for 30 minutes and come to an accurate conclusion on deep subjects when it comes to the founding principles of this country I'm just going to say it. Joe may agree, may disagree. Jimmy may agree, disagree. JT, T-Rex, Greg Daniels, y'all may disagree. But for me, in my brain, I have found that if I am studying subjects such as religion, guns, education, taxes, freedom, I can't sit down and spend an hour or two on Google finding the truth. It literally takes me days, sometimes weeks. Sometimes I can't, sometimes I spend a lot of time and I can't even get there. I can't figure out. I can't decipher it. The answer on some of these things is not crystal clear out of the gate. Now they can become crystal clear once you finally get to that point. I've just not been able to find the answer that quickly. You remember Ronald Reagan's famous statement, trust, but verify? That's what I have to do, no matter who says it or who wrote it. I trust Joe, but I still verify. I trust Jimmy. I trust Greg. I trust JT. I trust B. I trust everybody pretty much on here. But I verify it. I simply say, well, he said that this morning. Let me go see where he gets that from. And I'll go to a spot and I say, okay, that seems to line up with what Joe said. Now, where did the person that wrote that get that from? And then I go to where they got it from. And I go to where they got it from. And then I go to where they got it from. Many times, you get to a fact that is I mean, it's written, it's there. You can't avoid it. It's like if I put this, if the question is this cup predominantly white? The obvious answer is yes, it is. So sometimes in my research, I'll get to a point to where, okay, there it is right there. It's obvious what the founders meant. It's obvious when it says shall not be infringed. It's obvious. Okay. It's black and white to me. I get there. You're not going to argue with me on it. It's an ironclad. It's not a concept, but sometimes you do all this research. This guy says this, and then I go here, and here. And then I still end up with saying, well, you know what? This is one of them things that one's conscience dictates. This is a situation where there's no clear-cut answer, even though you may present it as a clear-cut answer. It's just not. The subject's too deep. The meaning of it is too vast, and you have to decipher it, but you end up coming up with a conclusion that you form based on your conscience, your gut, your feeling, your logic, which may differ from the next guy's. Philosophy is a huge, huge part of discussion and research. Ben Franklin's philosophy on public education may differ from Thomas Jefferson's philosophy on public education. And when I'm reading the writings of them too, I have to come up with, what do I think based on what they thought? That's what I do. And that's why I have gotten the way I am. I'm just not going to take your word for it. And I challenge you guys to be the same way. Don't take my word for it. Don't. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind today?
Morning.
Good morning.
I got a couple 2 cents to throw in. I just paid some hard-earned money to come see a big name concert in Florida, and Roger Waters. And what this guy was throwing in my face last night blew me out of the water, about the law, about our president that's been here, just right bluntly in our face, and we listened to it, and I grew up with this man, and what I seen him perform last night, I just want to roll over. I'm like, I can believe it, and I paid to go see this guy, and how he's smashing the United States, and who's the laws that we've had, and Ronald Reagan, and and he's always been outspoken. Pink Floyd's always been, they're a different breed. But what I saw last night, I was ashamed to pay the money I did to see this, and then it thrown in my face what he believes in. And there's little kids at this show.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have been there in my eyes. And I'm there. I'm not no better, I guess. But it wasn't that way. It wasn't the same when I seen him 20 years ago. But what I seen last night, I was upset. I was just amazed.
What you're saying is, when Pink Floyd is up on the stage, rather than get up there and play their music and talk about their music, they must have spent some time giving their opinion on the state of affairs in the United States. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. And the border and abortion and stuff but it's a shame, because it's indoctrinating the brains of us, all of us. I've been there, I grew up with them, but it wasn't that way, And
I got you. Yeah. You're right. And see, here's the thing, those young, impressionable minds, they're not going to do what I just spent time explaining. They're not going to go research and dig and look at an article and then look at, well, where did he get that information from? Where did they get that information from? They've simply now decided that Roger Waters from Pink Floyd is right, and we ought to elect him president. That's what they come out of there. They believe everything he said because he's Roger Waters of Pink Floyd. They now believe a certain way, and their whole thought process has now been molded by a freaking rock and roll singer.
That's right. And Blank, and I couldn't believe it. I haven't been to a concert in years, I guess. What I seen there just astounded me. I'm like, and to think I paid for that, I'm like, oh my goodness. I grew up with the man's music, but what I seen him advertising and putting in your mind, I'm going, and I paid to go see this, and then to think all these kids that are there was young kids there, and to see the same thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's this world turn into?
I experienced this very similar thing with Bruce Springsteen. Brian Vincent and we used to catch several concerts of Bruce Springsteen in the 80s when we were in school. And, he evolved from, honestly, when we saw him in, I think it was in the Omni in Atlanta during the Born in the USA days and stuff like that. He didn't do all that political commentary on the show. He got out there and he rocked it out for about 3 hours. I mean, it's high energy, just rocking it now. And then you fast forward a little later, we go up there and we see him at the Fox Theater, very toned down acoustic show, just him and his guitar, a lot of storytelling about his music, but you started to see the political influence in him. And then now I really wouldn't because of what you just said, that if I could afford a Bruce Springsteen concert ticket right now, there's no way I'd pay money to go hear him lecture me on some progressive leftist socialist platform and coming at me with that ideology. I couldn't stay. I'd feel like you. I'd want to throw up, and I'd be mad at myself for spending the money. I'd feel dirty. And
that's exactly. I couldn't believe the money that it cost to go see this show, and then stayed out here. And it was a packed house, and it unbelievable, and just throw it in your face, and then the lights and everything. That was what they were dictating to us. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we allow this.
Did they?
Amazing.
Yeah. Did the crowd? If he said something contrary to your political leanings or something that really bothered you, did the crowd like explode and erupt and cheering him on, like they agreed with it, and you know, were they feeding off of it and seemed to be aligned with his ideology as a whole?
They was.
That's
And
that's
there's a lot
sad.
of older people there too. It is sad, you know, because I wasn't agreeing with it. And I said, no, that's wrong. You know, I don't believe that part of it. And you know, that's exactly right. And that's, you know, I wondered, it's okay. What if the people in the crowd don't agree with the message you're trying to show? Do you want them there? You know, and he goes, you know, I'm sure as long as you don't affiliate, you know, as long as you're not disrupting the people that do like it, then I guess it's all good for the good, you know, good for the goose. But I was disappointed. You know, I love the music, but I'm like, what I paid to support this, and see what you just blatantly rubbing in my face, and oh my gosh, I was.
I mean, it you know, between his commentary, and then also in some of these the lyrics of some songs today, you know, they were talking about some Beyonce Knowles or whatever her name is, Beyonce's some of the lyrics in her songs, you know, or the kids and young people, that's where they're getting their political education from.
That's right. And then they go to the schools, listen to that music, and you know, it's telling them violence and killing people, and it, you know, and yeah, it's unreal. We got a lot of things to change, you know, and to control, step back into the children's lives and say, hey, no, this music you don't need to listen to. Because they're training you.
Yeah,
I'm blown away. I guess I'm old, and
well, you know, you say that we are old, and you know, there's man, you can see the country slipping away based on the age structure we're currently under. You know, I always say this: when the old guard dies out, the country's going to be gone unless we find a way to raise our children up and train them in the way we're supposed to train them, teach them in the way we want them taught, so they can carry that on. But with the destruction of the family, and I'm even talking, it's obvious when the kids are growing up in a broken home, that's an obvious problem. But right. We're having a problem even in the home that's not broken. When you've got two parents that are just not taking the time. They're not taking the time anymore. They're too busy. Right. They don't have the energy. Yeah. So it's slipping away. There's no other way to say it. It's slipping away. And I don't think the outcome's going to be all that good. I hate to go there on a Friday and be a Debbie Downer, but I'm like you, man. I ain't feeling good today, and I didn't go to that concert.
Yeah, I'm upset. I'm just, we got to change. Yeah, we got to change right within ourselves, you know, looking around, pointing, and well, we're condoning it. It's blatantly rubbed, saying, here you go. How you like this? And the music, it's unbelievable. I've just been tossing and turning, going, I don't believe.
Well, I know it impacted you to move you to call this show, because you don't do that very often, you know, and so I know it must have had a pretty strong impact on you to get you to call in and talk about it. Let me just, this is how sad we are. This is the sheer stupidity of this comment I'm about to read. It really is even, it's not surprising, I guess I shouldn't say, but Richard Marks on here says his white privilege is slipping away. My question to you, Richard, is what does a rap song promoting the killing of police officers have to do with white privilege? The answer is it does not. No. The answer is we ought to, as a society, if my 16-year-old, when he's 16, if Charlie pulls into my driveway, now I used to do this. I'd pull in home after baseball practice. I had me a nice jam system in my 78 Ford. Didn't have no air conditioner, but I could play some music. I'd pull in there with that thing just thumping. I'd have Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, whatever the case may be. I may have some Van Halen, some Def Leppard. I was all over the place with my music. But the lyrics of all them songs, they weren't bad. If my child pulls into my driveway playing some loud rap music that is talking about killing cops or it's over some line out there, I will literally, and this ain't gonna happen because I'm raising my kid the right way. But if it were to happen, I believe I would go out to that truck and I would rip that radio out of his truck, or rip the speakers out, where he would never do that again, or I'd threaten to. You know what I mean? That's how I police my household. And it ain't perfect. But you got houses out there that ain't even doing it. They don't care. The worst that kid would get.
Listen to it.
Yeah, they just say, turn that music down when you come in. That's about all you're going to get. It wouldn't be about what the music is. It'd be about the noise. And that's the problem. Or that's one of the problems.
One of them, yeah. It's a start. Yeah, it's all over. It's everywhere you turn. It's and I had it rubbed all over me, and I'm like, wow, maybe it opened up my eyes some or something. I don't know. I was highly disappointed.
An eye opener for sure, man. I appreciate the call, brother.
All right, man.
All right, have a good day. Man, I can hear the despair in his voice, dude. I mean, I know that guy really, really well. Good friend of mine. And I hate it. I hate it. Let's look at some headlines. 229-469-1417 if you want to call and talk about. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about, or we'll talk about what I want to talk about. It's up to you. The show's about what you want to talk about. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve. I have a question, sir.
Lay it on me, brother.
If we get rid of white privilege, how's Marxism going to propagate itself?
That's a good one right there. I don't know.
y'all folks do realize that every time you hear a Marxist running their mouth, it's a rich white guy or a rich white girl, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Somebody who doesn't have to worry about living under their own policies because they exempt themselves.
A walking hypocrite.
Yeah, like I was explaining on my show, the 180-degree rule, whatever they accuse their opponent of doing, that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're getting rid of white privilege, what that doesn't mean that you're white privileged. It means they are.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Were you listening earlier when we got into the argument or the debate about the founding fathers? Would they be in? Well, I'm just going to ask you. I don't know if you heard the conversation, but here's my question.
I heard you reacting to it. I didn't hear what started it.
Here's the question. I'm not going to give you I'm just going to ask you the question. You go from there. Do you believe in your readings and your knowledge of the founding fathers and their attitudes and what they thought about all these issues? Do you believe that they envisioned a federally funded, federally mandated Department of Education?
No. Madison said so.
Well,
he's not all that important. He just wrote the freaking document.
Well, that was my position. I seem to be, in lockstep agreement with you and the way you thought. But of course, Richard tries to say that
Richard can read. Something can either exist or not exist, and come up with all things exist and don't exist at the same time in the same space. In other words, he can read a hard truth fact, and come up with an absurdity. That man can't find his butt with both hands if he sat on him.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't, here's, let me just tell you how I operate. And I know, but I'm saying this again for the audience, and I'm gonna get your reaction to two. I compared you and me this morning. My level, I don't care how you brand it, my level of intellect, my intelligence, my style, my abilities, I have the ability to research a subject. And when I research that, let's just say you say something on your show and I say, I wonder how you got to that. Well, I'm going to go to your source and I'm going to read it. I'm going to contemplate it. Then I'm going to go to where that source got their information from. Then I'm going to go to where that source got their information from. And I'm going to trail this thing all the way back to as far as I can go. I'm going to read the writings of James Madison on education, which I have. I'm going to do all that. And when I'm done going down that hole and researching that, I'm going to form an opinion eventually. And I'm going to be comfortable with the opinion I conclude. All right. When I'm on the radio and that subject comes up and somebody says, well, how do you get to that conclusion? The difference between me and you is, your brain is big enough many times to say, well, Madison said it here. This guy said it here. These writings show this here. You can do that. I can't. I'm simply going to say, I got to that conclusion by taking a lot of time studying it. I didn't do a 30-minute Google search. I took probably 8 or 10 hours to get here over several weeks of reading about it and contemplating it. So when Richard calls up and says, well, cite your source, that's where
that's just a tactic.
It is a tactic because he knows I can't. It's like, some pastors can, or not just pastors, some congregants. I know people listen to this show that I can say, well, where's the Bible cover this? Where's the Bible cover divorce, suicide, helping your neighbor, taxes? And they can quote scripture. I mean, off the top. Well, James, chapter 5, verse 14, they can quote it like that. Me, I can't do that. I can tell you that the Bible's thoughts or that Jesus's teachings, this is what he said, but I can't quote where he said it at. I just know he said it because I read it and I studied it. So that's just a difference in ability and personality. But I think that people have got to first and foremost, you've got to say, look, I want to know the truth. And I've got to be willing to accept that truth, even if it seems contrary to what I've always thought. And until the person realizes, look, okay, I'm willing to accept the truth, even if I've been wrong for 55 years. And until we all adopt that attitude, man, we ain't getting nowhere.
No, we're not. But I'll tell the audience, you've come a long way since I first met you to doing that. I mean, sometimes if I handed you the end of a string, I had to help you along and give you a push. But now you'll run that string down till you get to the end, just like you said.
Yeah.
And then you don't need to remember it. You're doing exactly like I explained to my audience. The half of knowledge is knowing where to find it. You might not be able to quote it right off the top of your head, Steve, but it won't take you long to go back and find it once you're at your computer.
No, that's right.
Because you know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you had already taken the red pill when I met you. So, you were already predisposed to looking for the truth. And then when you met Jimmy dressed you all up in your parachute. You volunteered to be in the paratroopers. He dressed you up in your gear, put you on the airplane, hooked you up to the static line, checked everything, make sure you were all nice and pretty. When you met me, all I did was boot you out the door rather.
Yeah.
But you have come a long way and you've done exactly what I've asked people to do. There's several of them several folks on the show that have done that. All I've asked people to do is do exactly what you explained. If I hand you the end of a thread, run that thing down.
Yeah,
you'll come up with your own conclusions. I'm fairly confident that if you're seeking truth and you're sincere about it, you and I are going to end up in the same ballpark. We may not end up in the same section or the same bench, but we're going to be in the same ballpark.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Our core beliefs are in lockstep. I mean, when you're talking about something that doesn't have the concrete ending, I used my cup as an analogy earlier. The color of it's predominantly white. That's not just logical. That's factual. But some conversations are big, and you end up at a place where you have to apply your heart and your thoughts to come to your conclusion that satisfies your conscience. There are issues like that out there.
Yes.
But it's how you get there. You know what I mean? And that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned from you. The biggest thing you ever taught me was not proving something wrong. Try to prove it right. That was a game changer for me. So
yeah, and when you find out you can't do it, guess what?
That's right. Yeah. Joe, I appreciate it, man. You have a good show at 9:05. I've got to take a break and go let somebody in the back door there.
All right, brother. Take care.
See you, man. Bye. Thank you. All right, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back with our guest. And I think it'll be somebody that you'll enjoy. So we'll be right back. If I can hit the right button, we will anyway.
Wide awake now? We're honored and humbled to share this time with you each and every day. Please consider liking, sharing, and spreading the word by telling others to tune in. Send them to freedomnetworks.com and they can choose their favorite way to enjoy the show. For now, back to Freedom with Steve Nichols. Go get them, Steve.
Let me turn my mic back on so y'all can hear me.
Oh,
Sam, we're trying to. Are you good now?
I am great.
Well, I mean, in your headset there.
In my head, I'm always good.
You're not good. Now you're too loud in my headset. I'm going to
I'm going to say this, though. We played some walkout music on the way to school. Had a drop day off this morning, third week closing in high school. Big time for David.
Mm-hmm.
He left his balls in my truck.
What? He might need them.
Peanut butter balls.
Oh, okay.
He's running cross country. I'm proud of it.
That is good there. Can y'all hear Sam?
My girls won volleyball last night.
Yeah, y'all let me know if you can't hear Sam or you may not want to hear him. And
if you can't hear me, that'd be a crime.
Well, that's true. You are a loud man. But you were having a good time. David has started. I think we talked about this a little bit. He started his freshman year at Valdosta High School. That's a big change in him. He's running. No, I can't. I saw that picture you posted of him running cross country, and I'm like, how did this happen? Dude, I remember him.
He's got a 5 o'clock shadow now. He's had that for a couple of years. In honesty. It's terrible, man.
I remember back in school, in the 7th and 8th grade, and he had those kids like you who could grow a full beard in the 8th grade. David's that way.
I can grow one in the 4th grade. Let's be honest.
It ain't easy being.
It ain't easy being Lebanese, baby.
So what's going on in your life in your
we
world?
Are so doggone busy.
I know you are. Yeah,
we are covered up, and we're living good, our best life right now. I'm not kidding you.
That's good.
Things are good. Dogs are good. Kids are good. Wife is good.
Mm-hmm. It's all good.
Everything's good, baby.
It's all good.
We played a lot of cool music on the way to school. Do you ever get your kids fired up for the day?
Absolutely.
Do you ever try to get yourself fired up for the day?
I try.
I'm fired up, dude. I ain't fired up right now because we started this morning with Thunderstruck.
Oh yeah.
I put it on
George Strait,
and yeah,
I love him.
and that's funny. And David looked at me and said, "What is this?" He knows the song now. He loves AC/DC, but he says, "What is this?" As if like, what are we doing? This is like I'm on the way to school. I said, "You don't like this?" He goes, "I don't know." He said, "It's too early."
It's too early. Yeah,
I said, "It ain't never too early for some Thunderstruck." Yeah. We got into some Joan Jett.
I love rock and roll.
Yeah, we did some Born in the USA. We did some Danger Zone with Kenny Loggins.
Danger
Zone, all that stuff, man. When he got out of the truck, I'm like,
if Danger Zone don't get your blood pumping, dude, I'm like,
you get out of this truck, go make some A's, right?
Yes. This morning, when the vibe and the mood, it's set by music. Your tone is set by music. When I got in the vehicle to come to work this morning, I turned it on. And it was on Gulf 104, which is one of the stations I listen to.
Been like the greatest station since
yeah, for 100 years.
They still play the same.
So they do. And but anyway, what do you call it? Bob Seger. What's the name of the song? Seems like yesterday, but it was long ago.
I don't know the name.
Jane, it was lovely. She was the queen of my night. Against the Wind. So anyway, it's playing, and that kind of.
That's
good or bad,
one, but that one is
it's a downer, it's a mellow.
I'm not gonna call it. It's a great song, but it doesn't.
You don't exactly get your blood pumping.
Well, it just doesn't pour any jet fuel in your veins. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got to have a little bit of that. What y'all been doing? Well, how's
the second song was "She's a Beauty" by I think the Tubes or somebody.
The Tubes.
Yeah.
Is that who it is?
I don't know.
I take the word
on it. Anyway, things are going good with Freedom Networks. We've actually had we've added a show at 9:05, as you're aware. Joe Bakanovic, The Road to Concord. He comes on. Yep, he's listening now. I just hung up with him to go let you in.
Oh, I heard you hang up with him, and you said you had to let somebody in.
I was dreading it.
You didn't say my name.
No, it was a tease.
That really hurt.
That's what they say. They call it a tease in radio. There,
they do. You can't use me as a.
Well,
tease.
I wanted.
I knew that a lot of things, but tease.
I wanted to. I didn't want the audience to log off no faster than they would, so I just kind of put it off as long as I could.
I might cry.
I know you will. I can see you're all tore up about that. But yeah, everything's going good. We added the show there. We of course Larry does
How's that
his.
going?
It's going good, man. It's going fantastic.
Awesome.
You have expectations when you do something like that, and anytime you can honestly say that it exceeded your expectations, that's a good thing. And
I want to do it. Can I do a fishing show?
Well, Jimmy's going to do a fishing show. You can do a fishing show too.
No.
Jimmy's concentrating on primarily bass fishing.
Well, no, but here's the thing. Jimmy is an expert.
Mm-hmm.
You
can do a comedy fishing show.
My fishing show.
The Adventures of Sam.
My fishing show is probably going to be from the dock.
Yeah, that's true.
Ain't gonna be.
Hey, all jokes aside, man, that'd be a good show. Taking kids out there, catching big brim off the dock out there at Ocean Pond.
Oh my gosh! I tell you how much I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but I hadn't brim fished since I was, a young teenager, you know. And Tim Crown and I used to fish down at St. John's River, and we'd fish those ultralights sometimes, those little beetle spin stuff. Well, and we'd find a brim bed and just have time of our lives. Well, we got out of that, got into bass and redfish and whatever, and now we're out deep sea fishing and whatever. We got on the dock a couple of years ago. Actually, we got in a boat, my wife and I said it was a date night, and we went out there and got on a brim bed. Someone had told me about. Got in the boat, went out there and caught, 15, 20 big old brim, right?
Titty brim.
I'm talking about monsters, And since then, 2 or 3 times a year, we find a bed and get on those brim. And that is still, I don't care who you are.
We're using brim busters, did you say?
Brim busters.
Oh,
I don't know what to call it.
Singing,
There's a million different brands or whatever. Now.
Yeah.
But man, it's still fun. I don't care who you are. I know it's like a 12-year-old fun, but man, that's fun.
A memory pops into my mind when I was a freshman at South Georgia College over in Douglas, Georgia. I got there and I met one of my best friends in the world, Bruce Carter. He was a pitcher. I was a pitcher. Bruce loved to fish, but Bruce couldn't swim. He grew up. He just
that creates a little anxiety while you fish.
Okay, the anxiety reached a fevered pitch because here's over at, I think it's called Jardine Stadium, which was the Douglas, the Coffee County High football stadium over it. Right behind it was a pond. Okay, it was a public pond you could fish. Right, so
behind the Coffee County High Stadium.
Yeah, behind their stadium there, and you could fish, and of course it was grown up around the majority of it, so you really needed a boat to fish it, which we had a boat, and Bruce would go out in the boat. He wasn't intimidated by that, but he wasn't going to get in the water, right? So we had the boat over there, and we'd fish. Wayne Bradford and we ran a trot line in there, and
don't I know Wayne?
You do. We graduated with Wayne.
Yeah.
He was my catcher in high school and my senior year. So anyway, we
were his pitcher.
I was his pitcher. Okay, whatever how you want to say it there.
I'm taking up for you, Wade.
So we put the trot line out there. You wasn't exactly
class 85.
You wasn't exactly supposed to do that. But anyway, we caught some catfish. We caught some turtles. We put the turtles in the college swimming pool, which didn't go over real well when somebody narked on us for doing it. But we put like 15 cooters in there. So anyway, back to Bruce and the fishing story. Wayne took the boat back home with him.
Didn't take the bait. I want everybody to know.
You didn't take the bait. And I'm proud of it for that. I should watch my choice of words when it comes to turtles around you. So he takes the boat back with him on the weekend, and Bruce and I are stuck over there in Douglas together. We lived in the dorm, at the school. We didn't go nowhere, so we wanted to go fishing. So we go over there, right, without the boat. And we get over there, and it's a full moon, and we get over on the bank. We're fishing, not catching nothing. And I start smelling. I start smelling these brim.
Because that full moon just talking.
Yes, sir. I said, them jokers. I said, Bruce, they're on the bed. So I'm like trailing the wind like a hound dog.
You are like a Native American with his ear to the ground, his nose.
Oh, I figured
you're gonna
I used the wind.
You were better than a Garmin, better than a GPS.
No doubt about it.
I got it.
I was like a
well, back in the old days, that's how we had to do it.
So anyway, I looked at the structure over there, and I said there was a little stump there and a little opening. I said
you read the water.
That's where they were.
You read.
it was talking. Nature was talking to me, speaking to me.
Reading the water is an art,
So
anyway, I want a whole show on reading the water.
Okay, so I said, Bruce, we got to go over there. Bruce says, I ain't going over there. I said, why? He goes, I don't know how to swim. I said, what? You don't know how to swim? You've been in the boat with me. You don't know how to swim? He goes, no, I ain't getting in that water, man.
What if he had fallen in and you had to save him?
I know.
Well,
Could have been it. So anyway,
nice knowing you, Bruce.
So I said, okay. I said, well, I'm gonna go over there, and I said, you know, the plan was if I'll get over there, and if they're there, then I'll come back and we'll call Wayne. And I said, you got to get back over with the boat, dude. We got to have a boat. Okay, so I wade out there. It's only about
this for a brim bed. I love it,
dude. Let me tell you something. I get over there. I get my cricket box somehow rigged to my shoulder to where I can call, you know, I can carry the pole and everything. Get over and I had a fish stringer because I said, I'm gonna catch fish.
You were fishing a harvest.
So I went over and I went to harvesting. I went over there. I'm telling you, Sam, I'm talking about big old dark, beautiful blue. I'm telling you, man, just imagine, you know. So I'm just tearing them up.
I mean, so big their lips are fat. You know what I mean?
They got that hump on their head. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so I'm doing
this. A spoonful of meat on their head.
And Bruce, I mean, it's about 50 yards, okay? You know, you can't cast. He's over there. He's pacing the bank. He goes, dude, stop. We got to go get Wayne. I said, no, man, I'm over there. So anyway, it finally gets him to the point that he gets the courage and the nerve.
He's got brim fever.
He's got brim fever. He finally comes over there. He goes,
I'm about to laugh.
He goes, give me some crickets. Or he goes, give me a cricket. And
give me a cricket. I just need one right now.
Dude, I reach into the cricket box. I've caught about 25 at this point, right? On the stringer, you know. I mean, I'm feeling good. And Bruce, I give him the cricket box. And he goes, there ain't no damn crickets left. I had used all the crickets, and he had waited all around for nothing. For nothing, right? And it was like Sunday. There was no place to buy no more crickets.
Poor Bruce.
Anyway, that was just a story that hit my mind.
Let that be a lesson to you kids. You got to learn how to swim.
That or don't give Steve all the crickets.
Or else Steve will.
He can't hog the cricket box. You know. Anyway, but that was a good day. I ended up with about 25 or 30. I don't remember, but big old nice brim. I called my dad. You ain't gonna believe this, you know.
I don't care. The kids love doing that, man. Let me tell you something. It's just, and I'll tell you something. One of them pound and a half brims, and that's a big brim to me. When he's making that line sing, there's nothing better, man. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's nice. It's easy. Oftentimes you sitting on a dock or sitting on the bank.
Yeah.
You ain't got to get all in that boat and get all washed around and worry about storms and all that.
Aaron Spike says, correct, Steve. It is Jardine Stadium and the pond is still there. Well, I know where the brim bed, Aaron. So we'll go. All right. So I think people are
speaking of ponds at schools. There's one at Valdosta High School. We pulled in that new school. And that big pond with that fence around and the gates open for those of you curious, there's an open gate. But anyway, I look at it and there's a
that's funny, right?
Whatever. It's just funny. I'm like, I don't even know what we're doing while we're doing half the stuff we do around here. But anyway, there's a million geese in there.
Yeah, they are.
And I turned the music down for about half a second. And I said, you see them geese, David? He said, yes. That pond is toxic. And I turned the music around. Because you know them geese are pooping all over the place, man. They will ruin a pond that size.
They will.
And I don't know why they're in there, but they are in there. And I think what the city of Valdosta ought to do, I'm just going to put this out there for whoever in leaderships might be listening. On a Saturday during, I don't know, the winter time, maybe Christmas break, when there's nothing going on, no football practice, nobody's on campus, we can sort of cone it off, put flags up and stuff. I think we ought to be able to go in there and hunt that little pond right there on Perimeter Road. What you think?
I got a better idea. Why don't we just declare our freedom and our right to do so and just go get it done?
Yeah, I think that
won't work.
There's probably a statute on that.
Probably not going to work there.
That's probably but you're right though. Sometimes it is easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
But
this may not be one of them times.
There's a reason
I do not recommend you do that.
There's a reason I have a staff lawyer.
That's right.
The phone line is open. So T-Rex asked that if y'all got a question for Sam, a legal question, or you want to discuss an issue, we got him in here for that. Me and him tend to
have an illegal question.
Well, you could have an illegal question. You can
say your name.
Say the words like, hypothetically speaking, or allegedly,
or pretend. I had a friend.
Let's just pretend.
I'm asking for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend. Let's go to the phone line right now. Good morning, caller. You're on the hotline. You got a question or comment? I get choked up when you get here. No, I don't ever smoke. I'm not the Marlboro man. What's on your mind, caller?
Hey, I got a question for Sam.
All right.
Hypothetically, if you were pulled over.
Wait,
in
when you say
Florida
hypothetically, I'm
for a
already laughing.
seatbelt- Hypothetically,
Yeah.
if you were pulled over in Florida for a seatbelt violation, do they have any requirement to have any other reason to pull you over other than observing you
No.
may not have had a seatbelt on?
No. Can I tell you how horrible that is? The same is true in Georgia, by the way. I fought the seatbelt law in Georgia. What's the old song by the Clash? I guess others sing it too.
I fought the law and the law won.
Yeah. Well, the law didn't win on Sambo. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what did happen, which is kind of funny. It's a $15 fine, and they so what I told this. I think I said this on Steve's show before when we talked about the cell phone rule. Remember?
Yeah.
Like Congress, state level or federal level, seems to never be able to get anything done, right? Except when you start talking about things that all the oligarchs want you to do, then it gets done because everybody's sort of in the same, everybody's got the same people in their pockets. So, so seatbelts, you got to think about insurance companies, right? They're tired of paying insurance. They don't want to pay personal injury. They don't want to pay property damage. They don't want all that stuff. So they put seatbelts in there. But this is what was sinister to me. They can pull you over for a seatbelt, and then this is the problem. Oh, I think I smell marijuana. Get out of the car, please. Oh, you look like you've been drinking. Get out of the car, please. Or whatever the case may be. Oh, that looks like you've got tools for a crime in the back seat. Step out, please. And now here we are off and running. So it's really, I've always said it's really just law enforcement, in my opinion, oftentimes uses it just as an excuse to get to you. Insurance companies lobbied for it because they wanted to make sure people were wearing their seatbelts because they were tired of paying out claims, or at least they wanted to reduce the amount of the claims they were paying, right? But this is the thing that for what it's worth, when I got a seatbelt ticket years ago by a trooper in Valdosta. He's now a good friend and a client, but it didn't start out that way.
You got off to a rocky start.
Well, he wrote me a ticket. He pulled up beside me, looked inside my car, and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and he pulled me over and gave me a seatbelt ticket. And we went to court, and I did what's called, I filed a demurrer. A demurrer is, first of all, you charged this wrong, and it ain't a crime the way you charged it. Secondly, even if you charged it right, it still ain't a crime. Right. And so it's sort of and I'm oversimplifying it, but there's two kinds of demurs, whatever. And I file it. Well, and I file another motion to dismiss based on the constitutionality of the statutes. I think, let me just be honest with you, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. I used to wear my seatbelt religiously. Like we were in high school and stuff, Steve, I would wear it. It didn't matter if I was going 500 yards down the road, I wore my seatbelt. When they made it a law, I quit wearing it. I started wearing it again when I got married.
Yeah.
Because I had a reason now, like I can't be that cavalier about it. But I quit wearing it because I'm like, you can't make me do this. This is wrong. Anyway, I took it to court like 4 times, and the judge agreed with me every time. And I argued the case. I said, this is unconstitutional. Well, the prosecutor kept bringing it back up.
Over $15.
Well, but he and I were locked in a battle of will. You know what I mean? Which was fine because I ain't giving up. But it's a $15 case, and I had a big case going on in another court. And so I literally filed a quick motion to continue my seatbelt case because I'm in this other court, and I had a legal basis for it because this other case took precedent over whatever. Rumor has it, I don't know because I wasn't there and it was off the record. The judge reached in I won't say him or her, but the judge reached in the judge's own pocket and said, I've had enough. And
That's fine. Well, people like T-Rex, who is still on the line, by the way.
Hey, T-Rex, sorry about that, but the short answer is yes.
Okay.
No, your question was any other reason. The answer is no.
Okay. So T-Rex, do you have any other thing to say since Sam dominated the conversation?
Well, I'm kind of confused now. Yes, he can pull me over
yes,
for that, or no,
yes,
he should not.
Yes,
he can.
He can pull you. Yes, he can pull you over. It is not illegal. It is legal to pull you over. Unfortunately, he should not, in my opinion. But there you go.
Well, do you want to come to court with me and give your opinion?
Yeah, man, I'm all in. I love. Let me tell you something. Stuff like that. I don't look. I'll say this, and then my phone's gonna ring off the hook for people who want free representation. But every now and again, I mean, I look up and things get under my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I get, as you well know, and I've done this now a couple times on that.
Once you start moving forward in that direction, you don't stop.
I can't. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
We jokingly talk about it amongst us Sixth Amendment lawyers whenever we're at seminars and stuff. It's sort of one of those. The comment is, well, I'm already out the gate.
Yeah. And
once I get out the gate, I'm running the race, man. I'm going to finish it and I'm going to try to win it. And that's just how we're built, to be honest with you. We're not those guys that sit around and go, well,
Troy,
I want
3
hours in this now, whatever.
Troy, I want to ask you a question. When he pulled you over and ticketed you, I'm assuming he ticketed you. Were you may not want to answer it on there, I don't know, but were you wearing your seatbelt or were you not wearing your seatbelt?
Yeah, don't answer that.
Don't.
Yeah, why are you asking?
Why you got to lawyer up on my show like that?
He's lawyered up.
Well, okay, I'm gonna use myself then. Troy, just bear with me. In Hayhira.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm driving my truck wearing my seatbelt.
Pickup trucks used to be accepted, by the way.
Yeah, but this was recently. When I say recently, the last couple of years, I was actually wearing my seatbelt. It was dark as I was coming. I was actually headed to Black Crow early in the morning. And I come through Hayhira and the lights hit me. And I'm like, why is he pulling me over? It's dark. Now, again, this is on Main Street. It was lit up downtown, so you could see, I guess. But he pulls me over and comes to the window. And I said, good morning, sir. What's going on? He said, see, you got your seatbelt on now, but you didn't have it on when you came through.
And I say that all the time.
I said, hang on a minute now. I said, I have had my seatbelt on since I left my house this morning. I was wearing a tan shirt similar to what you got on. Mine was a Field and Stream. It could have been a Magellan, Columbia, whatever, but it was a tan shirt. The seatbelt strap. Yours is salmon colored. But anyway, you couldn't see it. In his defense, he might have thought I wasn't wearing it.
But that's what's sinister about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he pulled me over because it's 4:35 in the morning.
That's right.
He's thinking, well, he's coming home from somewhere he shouldn't be, and he's probably drunk.
Between the hours of like 10:30 ish at night and 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. The chances that somebody is doing something nefarious on the road go up to like 90%. And by nefarious, I'm talking about drinking and whatever. Right. And I look, I don't drink and drive. It ain't right. I got people I love. I don't want hurt. And everybody else does too. And you shouldn't do it. Call a ride. Call me if you have to. If you're out there.
Troy, you got anything?
Troy's fixing to talk.
I know. I just feel like we're just pretending he ain't there. That's your fault because you won't shut up.
The seatbelt was clicked. And he asked me if he knew why I pulled him over. I didn't self-incriminate. I said, no, sir, I do not know why you pulled me over. I made him say it.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. My answer always is, well, I mean, you got to have a reason.
You tell me.
Do you have one? But that usually gets you in more trouble. So just,
we're not all attorneys. And sadly, they know this. Most people just gonna say, hell, it's $15. I'm just gonna pay it.
Most people do that with speeding tickets.
Well, it's $145 damn dollars.
$145.
They've gone up in Florida.
Wow. I didn't know
what county were you? Who pulled you over?
Duval. I'm in Florida.
In Jacksonville, yeah. I'm going there this evening for a cross country meet. I shall have my seatbelt on.
Well, put your ticket on that pot belly because I didn't have mine on.
Yeah.
Oh, he called me pot belly. So
hey,
you know what I want to say.
From one pot belly to the other.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I love you, and I know you like that, but your fee just went up.
All right.
Fair enough.
Okay, well, that's.
But no. T-Rex, do give me a call, man, and maybe we can see something on the paperwork that makes sense, and that we can take a shot at it. Just let me look at it.
All right, we'll do.
All right.
Thanks, Troy. See you, buddy.
Couple of things right here. James, water jug. He's $145. He says that's half a tank of gas. That's about the truth right there. But hey, Renee gave you a compliment.
Oh, I love you, Renee. But wait a minute, what is the compliment? Is this really a compliment? Is this a Steve
Well, I think it is. She says you look pretty in pink.
I love you, Renee.
See there? I think that's a compliment.
I don't mind wearing pink. I don't mind it. Let me tell you something. One of my favorite
You
memories,
probably prefer it.
I do. One of my favorite memories as a dad, we were out at the soccer field or somewhere, and I got 2 girls, as you know, and 2 boys. And so my girls were of the age where they wore a bow in their hair to everything. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They even had bows in their hair at the soccer field.
Yeah.
And at some point, so I was like, I got to get this out of my hair. She's so competitive. She was competitive when she was born. So I took that bow, and I was in my suit because I just come from court. And I took that bow and it had a little alligator clip on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Or well, it's not alligator. It's like a spring loaded clip. And I put it on my lapel. And Miriam comes over and hands me her bow to put on my lapel, which I do. Before the end of that soccer game, every little girl in that soccer field had given me their bows, and
you decorated.
I was decorated with bows all over.
That's good stuff, man.
And man, and everybody's making fun of me, and I was like, I don't care. I am here for it.
That's good. Have you been? And I know you like a lot of people. I would do it if I wasn't doing what I did, but a lot of people. Wait, let's get the phone call. Me and you can talk anytime. But good morning, caller. What's on your mind?
I hope we don't.
Yeah. What's going on, people? Morning, Sam.
Hey, big guy.
Well, I got a hypothetical question. I mean, I know it's not really hypothetical, but if a person gets called in a criminal case to be a character witness for the defendant, what is involved for the person that is called to be a character witness?
What is involved?
Yeah, does the person have to write a letter? Does he have to show up in court? I mean,
what so it can be a little bit of it can be either or. So sometimes you can write a letter, and oftentimes that's what I do. Oftentimes what I prefer to do is have people come live. It just depends on
more
the
impactful,
situation.
maybe if they're in their live.
It depends on the case. It depends on what we're who is there a jury in the box? Is it a judge? Is it a sentencing or is it a trial? Speaking of criminal cases, if it's a civil case, it may be someone that needs to testify about how hurt they've observed you behaving in certain ways that prove you're injured, etc. Most of the time, it's not that complicated. It's just simply, I know Steve, and I'm familiar with and aware of his reputation for truth or veracity in the community, and it can be community confined to like your church or your work or the whole city of Valdosta or just your neighborhood or whatever. And I would trust him. I believe he is trustworthy, and I would trust him on his oath. Now, you're then exposed to cross-examination, and cross-examination, a witness can say, a lawyer on the other side could say, well, are you aware he committed murder? Are you aware he did this before?
Got a DUI?
Yeah, whatever. And then the question, and then the hope is for a witness that's in that situation, the lawyer that puts them up should prepare them for that and let them know that that's likely going to be questions asked of them. And then should ask them, does that change your opinion?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't change your opinion, then you might be a good.
Now, in Glenn's question, he specifically said character witnesses, and Glenn, you jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but he said specifically in criminal cases, if it's a criminal thing, would a character witness's statement normally be during the trial, or would it be at sentencing?
Could
or
be
both?
Could be both. Okay. I mean, so if you're going to trial, one of the things that's interesting about criminal cases to me is that character is never an issue in a case unless a defendant opens the door and makes it an issue.
Yeah.
So you could have a defendant in the case, whatever, that says, I'm just going to sit here and be quiet and not say a word, and y'all got to prove my case. You prove your case, and if you don't prove it, then I get to walk home. Well, the reality is that defendants typically put up defenses these days, and part of those defenses can be character evidence, right?
He's never acted this way before. He shows no history of acting unless he's been an upstanding citizen. He's never got in trouble, that sort of thing. Or
could be that, or it could be, he was a horrible person 20 years ago, but he's doing great now. And he's a good person, and this doesn't sound like him, and I trust him on his oath, and look, I've always said that people can go good as well as they can go bad.
Well, that's true.
And
that's true.
I believe that. Yeah. I've seen it happen both ways.
Glenn, you got anything else you want to ask, or does he need to polish anything up for you to answer or satisfy your question?
No, he did a fine job. I was just kind of one of those kind of asking for a friend kind of deals.
I got you.
Yeah, hey, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
I would love, by the way, I've been watching your Facebook page. I'd love to come eat a salad with you sometime.
You don't know what you get into.
in the words of the immortal Doc Holliday, say when.
I love, man, that's my favorite.
That's
Tombstone's my favorite movie. I
Mine
love
too.
me some Doc
No doubt.
Holliday. I will, man. I will. I'm not kidding. I want
Yeah.
to come out here and do that.
Appreciate the call, Glenbo.
Yeah, y'all know what I mean. Yeah, the grill is fired up every night of every week.
It is.
I love that.
I can attest to that.
I'll see you, big guy.
See you, buddy.
All right, brother. We got
All right,
Be
bye.
safe.
229-469-1417 if y'all got a legal
I
question or
love
anything.
his salad picture. Don't
He's
you?
very entertaining. Yeah, he actually recorded a video. He's I'm toying with the idea of putting just some common everyday activities, short video clips and stuff, using that to entice people to come to the website. And what, in other words, and I've talked to you about this. You and I have talked about maybe you doing a little something, a recorded commentary, a legal segment, ever so often. We're talking about that, but Glenn's doing a commentary from the seat of his truck. He's recording it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And I think, a little 5-minute clip, and Big B, he's gearing up to do a cooking segment. He likes to grill and stuff like that. So we're contemplating a lot of common stuff. That's why I said earlier, your brim fishing on the dock thing would be good. But good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Steve, this is Water Jug, and I do have a legal question.
Okay, lay it on us.
Okay. My wife is in a situation right now where she's going to get some legal counsel to represent her and some members of her family to contest something that's going on with her grandmother's estate that was left to her.
Okay.
I guess to all the members of the family. The problem is everything's been dispersed except for the home. They're going to sell the home and the property in St. Johns County, Florida. But the executor of the estate, which is my wife's cousin, is trying to sell the home far below the tax appraised and the appraisal value, which in this market we know is way below the fair market value. And whenever they talked to the probate lawyer that was handling the estate, he kind of got his butt on his shoulders and said he was going to, for nobody to contact him anymore, and he was going to try to push it through court, the sale through the court anyway. And I was wondering what sort of chances they had taking this to court and contesting their actions.
So I would say, just based on what you're saying, there's probably a decent chance they could make something happen. I don't know what the cost would be compared to what you might get out of the sale of the house at an increased rate, and whether it's financially worth it or not. But I can tell you that an executor has the obligation to act reasonably and to take actions that are in the best interests of the estate. That's a legal requirement, really, in every state of the country. I haven't read that law in every state of the country, but I know that to be true in Florida and in Georgia. Now, but I also know it has to be true everywhere else too.
That's right.
I just don't know how they say it in every state.
Right.
But
Well, my wife's biggest question that she's had concerning the potential sale of it is that they didn't list it. The lawyer said that he was going to list the property on the open market, and this is a some sort of private off the market sale that the executor worked out with someone.
He's not acting in good faith.
That's exactly the law. I mean, he's not, and I think, and the cold hard.
Well, that's good news, because my wife, I've made her mad, and I don't like to do it, and I don't know if they know what they did when they made her mad, but she's
well, I can already tell you, I'm on your wife's side.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'll tell her that I kind of called in, and our legal expert on Freedom said that guy was not doing his due.
Not only did your legal expert say that, but I'm saying it too. So let me say, but before you hang up, though, let me say this. I mean, I think that sounds wrong to me. There may be something in the will that allows it. I just don't know. You have to read everything. But getting a lawyer down there, and I can help you do that if you need me to. You can call my office, and I'll find somebody that does that kind of work.
I don't know. The whole thing felt funny to us, so.
Well, and it's again, if it's a house, I'm just making numbers. If you think the house is worth 100, and he's selling it for 95, I don't know that it'd be worth it to go have the fight. It's just take it with a little bad taste in your mouth, right? But if it's worth 100 and he's trying to dump it for 50, well, now I got a problem. More likely it's worth, down in St. Johns County, it could be worth $500,000 or $1 million, and it's and he's trying to give somebody a good deal.
Yeah,
that sounds. It
stinks.
I don't know that. I don't. Who the heck knows what's going on, and it may be totally legitimate. But here's the way I've always thought about stuff like that, and so I don't do a lot of estate stuff. In fact, I rarely do it, and I only do it typically if there's a big fight involved and there's a courtroom battle, right? But at the end of the day, what I've always said about these situations is, let's pretend you're doing everything right, Mr. Lawyer. Then what harm is there in putting it on the market for 30 or 60 days at a price we think is worth?
That's right.
And if we don't get that, then
no downside to that.
There's no downside risk. And why don't you talk to us and give us all the information? Let us have free access to all the information, because if you're doing it right, then we're not going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem
is that's exactly the way I feel about it, because there's been a lot of lack of transparency.
Well, yeah.
But, which leads to a lot of speculation. And when somebody does something like this, then I think everybody's in the right to be able to speculate if there's no communication.
Let me tell you something, big guy. There's a lawyer about Austin. He's retired now, and I miss being with him. When I quit doing family law 10, 12 years ago, I kept doing cases with him against him. So if he was on the other side of the case, I'd get in it.
Yeah.
And the reason that I would was because I really enjoyed him, and he practiced law very close to me, on the street, so to speak. And I would call him and say, "Hey, I got the Jones case," or whatever. And he'd say, "Oh, good." And we'd come over there with our files, and I'd give him my file and he'd give me his file. And I'd go, "Hey, I ain't got this appraisal. Where'd you get this from?" Whatever. He'd say, "Hey, just make a copy of it." And we would, that's how we did it. And we saved so many people so much money and got so many cases finished. I thought
avoided a jury trial
and tried cases that needed to be tried. I mean, we you know what I mean? Like I might say, well, this appraisal's self-serving or whatever. And my point in saying that to you is this: it's never wrong, in my opinion, to withhold information. Now, sometimes you have legal obligations too. Sometimes there's stuff that you can't divulge because of confidentiality or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a conflict resolved, heck, if I tell you it's worth X and you say I think it's worth Y, and I say, well, I can prove it, but then don't show you my appraisal or whatever, I mean, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Water Jug, I know you got to go to work.
Man,
I know you got to go to work, but I got to ask you real quick, just to give us when you're not going to get deep in the weeds, but I know you went on that a mission trip. Tell me what countries you hit and what you saw real quick, if you can. If you can't, you got to go. That's okay.
Oh, no. I can tell you real quick. It was the company I work for is mission oriented. We make a nutritive aid product that we sell to UNICEF and USAID to feed malnourished kids. And so we went and visited probably 15 NGO, Lima, fight against famine. I mean, all of these different camps of doctors and health workers, nutritionists that were feeding refugees and malnourished kids in 3 countries. We went to Chad, Ethiopia, and Uganda, and spent the bulk of the time in Uganda. And we visited these camps and got to walk through the wings where the children, and a majority of which were refugees that had been displaced because of war and civil unrest in those countries. And we got to see where the kids were admitted, and they were so far gone, their eyes wouldn't even track you when you walked in the room. They were sitting there in their mother's arms, these small little skeletal children, and they were somewhere else in their head, man. They were fighting some fight I wasn't, and while their mom was fanning flies off their face. And we got to walk through the whole wing where, they either give them an IV or some sort of feeding tube to sustain them. Then, as you progressed through, they do tests to see if they can actually keep food down, and if they can, they're either given our product or they're given there's a company in Europe called Nutriset. There's a couple in Kenya that make a similar product, and they see if the kids can supplement their diet with this ready to use therapeutic food, and then they just kind of incorporate that into their regular diet. And by the time you get to the wing, you see that you see the ones that made it, and there's a big chart on the wall that tells you the percentage, like last month 5% didn't make it, or last month, the month before that maybe 8%.
Golly.
And that's heartbreaking,
That's a life change. I can see how that would make an impact on you. And I got a deep appreciation for you and folks like you who, take the time to go try to help somebody else. I mean, that's the very definition of, being Christ-like.
Walking the walk, man.
It's walking the walk.
So, I'm going to tell you this, because I want to just say this as a pretext to my thank you to you, my gratitude to you, and what you're doing. My kids and I were talking last night. We were having a conversation about a friend that really needs some support and encouragement, a friend of theirs. And the conversation turned on, if we allow it, Jesus and the Holy Spirit lives inside us, and our job is to let that out. You know what I mean? It's to kind of let that go to the next person. So if you've got the ability to say something nice or encouraging to someone, in an authentic way, you should. That's from God. That's from the Holy Spirit. And we were just talking about that just last night before we went to bed, in relation to a friend that needs some of that kind of love, so to speak. And, that's what you're doing. I mean, you're letting, in my opinion, I'm certainly not a holy man, but it sounds to me like God and the Holy Spirit are living in you, and you're letting it out and to the benefit of others. And, I don't know what you've done in your life, but that ought to make up for a whole bunch of it.
Water Jug, man, I appreciate you and man, just good stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and good luck on your wife, to you and your wife on your criminal or your civil issue with the estate.
That's right.
And any future criminal issues you may encounter.
No future criminal.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
All right, man.
All
I
right.
appreciate it, fellas. You guys have a good morning.
We'll do it.
buddy.
Thank you.
Man, that is so encouraging.
Oh man, he's just a great guy.
Uplifting.
He's just a great guy.
I mean, I just got to tell you, we go through this life, as you know, and you do on this show a lot, because y'all talk a lot about politics and stuff. And there's a lot of anger and and what I call just general contempt in the culture right now, right?
Yeah.
But man, if you just look around, there's people like him that are just doing.
That's right. That's right.
It just feels you can smile about it. I mean, it's really,
this is. I can say this because I know who he is, and we're close friends, and I can say this. Literally on the line right now, I've got one of your biggest fans, and you can take that any way you want. But this is Big B. I mean, that's his name. Big B. He's one of your biggest fans. B, what's up?
Oh,
man. I mean, you got a bad connection, B. We can't hear words you're saying.
About now.
That's better. We can hear you. Go ahead,
man. Oh man,
we're gonna have to cut it, B. I don't know if you can hear me.
Let me tell you what he was going to say.
No, I don't want to hear that. That's fake news. Whatever it is. Okay, I do have a question, a serious question. Well, we'll get Big B, and I promise to the texter, I will ask Sam this on air. So just hang on a minute. Big B, you there?
I literally was driving under a cell tower.
Oh, yeah, that's my luck right there.
Hey, I got some cell phone experts. I can tell you why that happened. I'm learning about that as we speak. I got a case that deals.
I said I also go by the round man with the square deal.
Gotcha. What's on your mind, B? We're short on time, so hurry.
I just wanted to comment and say, yeah, I'm proud of everything that's going on with Freedom Networks and the progression. People that don't, I introduced somebody this morning to it, a new coworker we got, 31-year-old guy, and it floored him. I said, if you go back today, I knew Sam was coming on or later. I said, you're going to listen tonight. I said, you're going to get the most enjoyment of your whole day, other than seeing me in person, is listening to the show. And it's what Sam brings and what Steve brings at this time.
Oh,
that's
Big B, I love you. Shut up.
That's
you
one way to look at it.
That is the only way to look at it.
My fear is
you can't change
that he'll judge the entire week by that.
Let's hope he
segment.
does.
If he does, he may not ever come back.
He'll tune in like a 7-year-old wanting another hit of crack.
Well, maybe so. Maybe so. Thank you, B.
I will shoot this at you too, Sam. Somebody also on Facebook on one of my pages here, and my way was looking for somebody that would handle defamation and.
He must be under the cell tower again.
That's right.
We losing you again, B.
Well, you tell him to call me, B. I heard. Oh.
Yeah, I told him to call your office.
Yeah, definitely tell him to call my office. I'll be glad to try to help him if I can. And I appreciate you thinking about that. I mean, there's a million lawyers out there, and a lot of really good ones. But I'm always open.
I'll get off this thing, let somebody else jaw jack. But hey, y'all have a great weekend. Love y'all, mean it.
You
See
too,
you,
buddy.
All right, thank you. Hey, really quick, Sam, because we're getting down. Since I have another show coming,
does he do the barbecue? What's his?
Well, he's a salesman. He sells equipment parts and stuff like that. That's his job. But he likes to grill on the weekend.
We talked about that one time.
Yeah, we did. We did. Yep. I have a question, a legal question from a listener, and I'll give you the name off air and all. But he says, I busted my ass yesterday. You know what?
I like this guy or girl already.
It's a guy. You know him. He says, I busted yesterday.
That's enough. We're going to sue somebody. You come on in.
That is so funny, man. I shouldn't have read all that, but I couldn't resist. I knew you were going to go. All right. Busted his ass yesterday in a hole in a store parking lot in Macon. Fell on my knee, and this morning his leg is hurting bad. I'm assuming it's probably swelling up, and he's having a problem there. He says to ask Sam, is it too late to do anything about it? And I already know the answer is no.
Yeah, if you fell yesterday, it don't matter if you fell last year. You go get it checked out. Go to your doctor, your primary care physician, and let them know. And I tell folks this all the time. You know, it's when you're talking about your physical injuries, you got to talk about them. I mean, you got to say, look, this hurts. But when you go in saying, you know, hey, Mr. Nichols, how are you doing today? I'm fine. How are you? Yeah. And then they write in a report, patient reports being fine. And then defense lawyers blow that up as if you're fine.
This is good advice, right?
You're not fine. You got a busted knee.
Basically what you should say when they say, hey, how you feeling there, Mr. Nichols? Well, I ain't feeling too good. What the hell do you think I'm here for?
Well, yeah, how you doing today? My knee is killing me.
Yeah,
you know, right, and what's wrong with it? Well, I fell in a parking lot.
I busted my ass in a hole.
Yeah. That's funny, man. I don't know what this. I don't know whether there's a case here or not. We can talk about it.
This is a good commercial in there.
But what I want to say is that I would love to get to a place in a courtroom where I can say in my opening statement, Mr. Smith, we here because Mr. Smith busted his ass
in a hole. That is good stuff.
Oh God, that is hysterical. I got to tell a fast funny.
Go ahead. I'm sitting here thinking of a great commercial. Do you find yourself in the need of a personal injury attorney? Did you bust your ass in the hole yesterday? Well, you need to call Sam Dennis at 244-6992, and he will restore your ass in a heartbeat. That's some good stuff.
God,
right
that's awesome.
That's right.
I got to tell you a quick funny because I was in court one day. It's been years ago. It's been 10 years ago probably, and or more. And I was in court and getting ready to finish a case, enter a guilty plea on a case. And anyway, this judge says, the judge is dealing with a case before mine. Mine's not ready for another 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And the judge says he's going to appoint this defendant a lawyer. And he just looks up and sees me and says, Mr. Dennis, I'm going to appoint you to represent Mr. Smith, whatever his name. I can't remember his name. It's late in the game. He said, and I said, yes, sir. And I get up and respectfully go up to the bench and grab the accusation. And the state, as I'm grabbing the accusation, I'm walking back from the bench, having grabbed, I'm looking at it. And it says that this person is accused of criminal damage to property, and that he had I don't know if I can say this now, but he had defecated inside of a home that was the property of a certain person.
Defecated.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? What is that?
No,
I don't
there
really
was no
understand.
DNA in the case. Let me just tell you that. Because I was like, did y'all take a sample? Do we know it's his? I'm like, I'm not sure.
So it's saying he took a poop.
He took a poopy.
Okay.
And so anyway, and I just don't know. Like, it's public record.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say it. So the victim's name, and y'all may know.
You gotta tell us.
I just
now.
got to. It's so good.
Yeah.
And so I looked down and it said the property being the property of Shiley Sheets. And so the prosecutor at the, you know where this is going. So the prosecutor,
Sally Sheets took a.
No, that wasn't him.
Oh.
My client was like John Doe.
Oh, okay.
But he was accused of damaging the
Your
property.
client took a in Sally Sheets'
That's what I
house.
said.
Sally Sheets' house. And
I said, and I stopped, mid-step in the courtroom as the prosecutor saying, Your Honor, we do not object to a continuance for Mr. Dennis since he just got the case, which is normally kind of what you would do.
Right.
And I spin around and I went, Your Honor, we're ready. He said, what? And I said, we're ready. He said, approach. So we go to the bench. He goes, you ain't even met your client. He said, your client's in the holding cell, right there outside the courtroom. And I said, I don't need to meet him. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you remember Perry Mason? I said, yeah. What about it? I said, remember how every Earl Stanley Gardner wrote those episodes? And at the beginning of every single episode, it was always said, the case of the singing canary or the case of whatever, right? Remember? And I said, Judge, take a look at this accusation. He looks at it. He goes, okay. I said, this is going to be the case of shitting Shiley Sheet. And he laughed. He goes, and he does one of these. He gives one of these backhanded back off.
Yeah.
And he says, you're not doing that. And y'all, he said, y'all better settle this case. As we're walking back, he goes, will your client take a plea, you think? I said, no. I said, we will take a dismissal.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, how long have you been in? Of course, you've been in jail like 60-something days.
Golly.
On a misdemeanor case. And he's like, well, I can't just dismiss it. I said, well, you better. I said, because that's exactly what I'm about to tell that jury when we get in here. And I said, I'm taking the first 6 that come in this courtroom.
That's good stuff.
And we got it dismissed. But I want to just tell you, though, stuff like that tickles me to pieces. And we do
a lot of fun sometimes. Yeah.
Well, but the sad truth was that poor fellow, I can't remember his name, but that poor fellow was just so sad. I get so sad when I think about people that just don't have anybody. They don't have any money. They don't have any loved ones to speak of. And then they just get arrested for the.
Well, it's a little crummy to spend
things,
60 days in the clink for something like that. That's just
if that even was. I mean,
if
actually,
he did, yeah.
I went back and he's like, I didn't do that. It was so and so, and I said, well, and it probably was somebody else. I don't know, And I said, well, it doesn't matter. We got dismissed, and
Well,
but I just thought that was funny, and I thought you did.
If you, all jokes aside, we got to go. But if you find yourself in need of a personal injury attorney specifically, that's his main thing. Sam thrives. His practice is built around that, so he's geared to be on point. He's got a great staff. I mean, that's what they do, and you're in good hands. I can personally attest to that. So if you busted your ass in a hole in the parking lot, call 244-6992, or if you got anything,
244-4428. You say the number
244-6992. What is that?
I must have called you from like line 4 or something.
Okay, so tell me that
229.
Okay,
big dummy. 229. I feel like Fred Sanford right now. You big dummy.
I'm Lamont today. So what's the phone number?
229-244-4428. But really, just look up Sam Dennis Law, and thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if it's something that like Water Jug called up, or T-Rex called up about, if Sam doesn't want or doesn't, it's a better fit for Sam to refer you to somebody else. You do that all the time. I get plenty of calls. I filter them and I say, hey, Sam, I got a guy. I've learned kind of you a little bit, what you're going to say. And I'll say, well, Sam's probably not going to have time to deal with this. And, but he knows someone that specializes in this. Call John Holt.
Yeah.
Call JJ Strickland. Yeah. Call Craig Cotton up in Cordell. So he's got a network of folks after practicing law for over 2 decades now, maybe 3, getting close to 3.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. 27 years.
27.
Can I tell you this real fast?
Mm-hmm.
Judge,
real fast. I'm like 30 seconds.
A judge was balking at a deal I had worked out for a client recently, and we're at the bench, and the prosecutor's been doing it 25 years. And I literally said to the judge, I said, Your Honor, there's 60 years almost of experience standing in front of you. We know this is the right outcome.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
And she goes, okay.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming here. I appreciate your support of the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
We'll see you guys Monday morning, 6 a.m. Joe Bakanovic is next. The Road to Concord. Stay tuned.
We at Freedom with Steve Nichols want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Together, we will protect, defend, and promote the freedom as our founding fathers envisioned. We believe in the spirit of the Declaration of Independence and strive to protect that spirit daily. Please thank and utilize the goods and services of our sponsors and advertisers every chance you get. For now, we bid you farewell. Have a great day.